Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
Synctank.
Inside me there are two wolves, though there is not enough wolves to control the deer population inside of me, which is degrading the river ecology inside of me. I'm attempting to release more wolves in to address this issue, but the ranchers inside of me have objected and have filed grievances in the courts inside of me.
Has Seal been trying to protect your inner organs from these wolves and
Well,
been
there are
getting
two
scratched
courts
up?
inside of me and in a district appellate court as well. So this is the problem when it gets to that level.
I heard there was a nasty Lyme disease outbreak inside of you too. Are you doing okay?
That was like 15 years ago, actually. I don't know if I want to get too deep into that, but
Does
like
that mean
you heard about
also
the
have a
doctor.
plum island inside of you?
I don't know if we can talk about is my plumb line like straight. I'm scared. To the degree, at one point I was concerned about Lyme disease, and wow, Will made it too. I didn't think Will was like with his family. I thought that was impossible, but you know what, Will, good to see you. Lyme disease is a scary thing, and there was a Connecticut doctor who was injecting people with a rather extreme dose of antibiotics and curing Lyme's disease, allegedly curing Lyme's disease. I'm pretty sure that was accepted. I'm not sure exactly.
Wasn't Lyme's disease one of those ones that they're pretty sure was like a biological weapon?
What? That's crazy. Wait, they being 513 in Jewish gematria. Yeah, okay, for sure.
I just that was my understanding.
was
Right?
one of them,
Am I incorrect in that it's one of the more likely biological weapons that kind of took off? And
I mean, for sure. I just wonder how accepted that is. Let's see if they accept
see
that
the
yet.
legitimacy of it.
Are they open about that yet? Like, how do you even? I don't know. Pretty sure we could say it was probably our fault, right? Or something. It was probably because a bunch of people were taking antibiotics and releasing them into the wilderness. You know, I don't know. Yeah, pretty much. They don't really explain that on the Wikipedia though, that it's a human created thing. But it
Of course
seems
not. Why would they? Yeah,
I just feel like at this point they should probably, right?
It seems like it would be convenient to usher in the next New World Order, right? Because one of the side effects is that you can't eat red meat anymore.
Yeah.
Like once you get Lyme disease. So I mean, how ironic would it be though? Like you get bit by a tick, and now all you can do is eat ticks.
Yeah, the truth is that you're supposed, if to treat Lyme's disease, you're supposed to eat a ton of salt and drink lots of water, and the minerals in the salt counterbalances something. And I got this from somebody who had Lyme's disease for years and years and years and had no luck until they just increased their salt intake and was just like, they went off about how like this whole thing around salt increasing blood pressure is a bunch of hooey. But the thing is, you have to counterbalance it with being hydrated enough, because it can be dehydrating, but it's also like the mineral deficiency issue is, I don't know, there's something to that.
Well, the 1980 October surprise theory. Yeah.
I think every month is an October surprise right now.
That's what I'm kind of saying. There was an
October surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to even let's let's millennial up for a second for all the Zoomers. So 1980 October surprise theory refers to a allegation that representatives of Ronald Reagan's presidential campaign, and let's just say like including George Herbert Walker Bush and the CIA, made a secret deal with Iranian leaders to delay the release of American hostages until after the election between Reagan and Jimmy Carter, so that Jimmy Carter looked inept and unable to secure the hostages, right? Even though they could have gotten them out earlier, the CIA was like, don't let them out. And that way they could say, hey, really, you know what? That incompetency, we can't wait around anymore. Thank God we have Reagan in the house saving our hostages, right?
Right.
And that's,
Well, there's also a history of things that could have reconciled conflicts being put off till after the election at the peril of soldiers. So like there's several incidents of that, usually right before an election, where there's some unnecessary casualties because they didn't want to make a move because they didn't want it to be, they wanted to attribute it to the next person in office or whatever, you know.
absolutely right.
There was a conversation in APM that you were having, Andreas, that I found that was really interesting because somebody was talking about Trump. You know, most of our response after the assassination was, oh, he had won. And then somebody made that comment that made me think of the October the surprise is like that would have worked better in October.
Right.
And I
There's
think
movies
that's
about
true
it.
because it kind of like wore off that glam a little bit. But
100%. That's one of the reasons it feels even more organic, because the timing is horrible for getting Trump elected. It would have been perfect for putting in a new Republican who would have lost and everything else like that. But it's such a useful thing to him. It's just not as useful as if it was in October. Exactly. The October surprise and what's the hunt for Red October and just all the things that could be in October. The thing about it is it's a perfect summer movie, right? It's Batman, it's UHF. I mean, it's a summer movie. It's Jurassic Park. So it's like you can't get a better summer movie than a movie about, you know, a G-rated movie with action and violence and, you know, people nearly die but they don't die. Like, it's the perfect family film.
Will's camera, dude. It's
I know,
like,
you should be careful. You're gonna get seizures, dude. I don't know. It's
yeah, I know. I got that.
scaring me.
I think I had this happen at Burning Man one time.
What do you think about the perfect summer movie, Kurt?
Sweet.
Kurt?
Kurt, are you alive?
Sorry,
Bueller.
I am alive. Bueller is back in class.
I mean, we were saying that the
No,
Trump assassination. You
No,
heard us.
no current comment.
Mm.
Trump
Okay.
assassination.
I was listening to this podcast about
Fair enough.
like extinction events, you know, like
Yeah.
the asteroids hitting the planet and stuff. And somebody made the comment that only would have happened between like, what would it be, September and November during the big meteor shower that happens every year. If we get hit by anything, it's going to be from that, they said. So I had this weird thought of that being like an October surprise, you know?
There's a lot of evidence, or I don't know, there's speculation around the concept that Trump is urging Netanyahu to not agree to the ceasefire.
That's
Right
what they're
now.
saying. That's one of the reasons that sparked that thought in my mind where I was like, is this going to be one of those situations where something is put off for political reasons and we all have to see what comes of it. Yeah. But,
Well, because
there's-
any sort of unrest or chaos would work in favor for the challenger, right? Because if there's unrest and chaos, I'd assume. I mean, because I guess what was the wag the dog is that you don't change horse midstream. That was the whole aspect of that movie, was that they wanted to trigger some sort of a conflict so that they would have a reason to stay in. But with the current administration, it almost seems the opposite, because there is no semblance of authority, I guess, there. And it was when you guys talking about October surprise, all I could think of is like, isn't that just every day for Joe Biden? Like, huh? Huh? What?
He's surprised when he gets when he works from, what is it, 10 to 2 p.m. I think is his functioning hours. But
So,
they got
like,
him
he
going.
did-
I don't know.
yeah,
What, he had a
11:30
nap.
p.m. So like the wizard
Yeah.
arrives when he wants to. Like, I think there might be something about, but it depends on the drugs too. I mean, you might have different hours. Like, a lot of old people do get up, you know, like up till like they get up at 5, right? Isn't that a thing? So maybe he's got like double. Maybe he's doing siestas. Maybe he's only sleeping like a nap, and then he gets up and he's like double. We don't understand. We don't know. Maybe Tyler Durden only sleeps 1 hour a night.
I don't know, man. It's interesting.
I don't know. So the other thing is, I was wondering, like, I was looking around the internet trying to find lizard people vibes, and there's just, where do you go now? Like, David Icke doesn't talk about lizard people. Alex
Not
Jones,
anymore, no.
you know what I mean? Like, what do you do? Like, there isn't like a lizard people news. There isn't like, you know what I mean? Where's the they live?
Well, there's a new documentary coming out about The Shining. You guys see that, where it looks like Vigilant Citizen style, which kind of verges on the lizard thing a little bit with their monarch stuff and whatever. But like, I knew it's, what is it called? A Clockwork Shining. You hear about that?
No, let's see. Clockwork.
Andy sent me a preview. It's just it's yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe I wonder if we're gonna. I'll try to watch the trailer. I don't know if we'll get in trouble for it.
Behind me were the headquarters for the World War II Office of Strategic Service. It was here that the first halting steps toward mind control began.
So 10 years before Stanley Kubrick made The Shining, he made another film. It was a film about mind control called A Clockwork Orange.
Never heard of it.
I'm concerned if I play the whole trailer.
Yeah, you don't have to play the whole trailer, but no, you get the idea. He's doing.
But there's only 711 views, so hopefully they're chill about it. And Reality Check, everybody go check out Reality Check. Subscribe to their channel. If they're friends with Andy, they're probably cool people. Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if they're friends with Andy. He sent me a message and it's like, you could probably tear this whole thing apart or something like that. And I was like, yeah, probably.
Okay. Jay Vedner.
Widener. He did the documentary on the Kubrick faking the moon landing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, 3 documentaries, really.
Right.
And Room 37, yeah.
And
cool.
still going. No.
Still going, yeah.
Is it? I think that he's done with that by now.
No, he just showed up in this new documentary, man.
Right, but I mean, as far as the Shining 237 thing goes.
Oh, right.
He's chilled. He's all right. His
balls are empty. He's done.
It's actually going to be cool to see him talk about Kubrick, because for the last year, I swear, all I see him talk about is Kamala Harris.
Well, what happened with him? Didn't something happen? Wasn't he teaming up with Joseph Atwill, who did Caesar's Messiah or something? Oh, I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm thinking of Freeman Fly. Never mind. Yeah. Or maybe Will, him too. I forgot.
Did you have a thought, Will, on this dude, on Weidman?
On who?
Weidman.
Oh,
Widener.
Oh,
Widener. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I always used to hate Kubrick, but back in the days when it like Room 237 came out, I interviewed a whole bunch of those people and stuff. I hated Kubrick because I thought he was fucking with me, and then all of this stuff came out, and I was like, he was fucking with
personal. You're personalizing Kubrick. You're like, oh man, that guy's had it out for me since day one.
Well, I don't like Kubrick for the same reason I don't like the whole Mandela effect or whatever. It's because it's kind of like a trivia guy. And the thing that Kubrick was leaving like little Easter eggs in there, when I would see it, I was like, well, this just poor movie making. Oh, that set doesn't even make sense. And then I realized it was like
chair wasn't even there in the last scene. What the hell?
Right, exactly. You see those like a person who's like trying to find errors, and then he sees them and he's like, oh, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing. And then later discovering like he was fucking with me. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, well, you know what? I've felt that way about a few people over time. In fact, David Lynch is one of those where my earliest impressions of David Lynch was like, this doesn't mean anything. And I used to feel that way about David Bowie lyrics too. I was like, dude, this doesn't go anywhere. And now I'm just like, oh, dude, no.
Dude, what was your explanation of the freaking ending scene of Mulholland Drive, where there's like the little miniature homeless dude or something? Like, yeah, I didn't understand.
It's in my Sync book chapter. I reference that. And like, I have the whole thing.
You gotta drive on Mulholland Drive. You gotta just drive around Mulholland Drive.
Is that what it is? It's like a regional thing. You had to be there.
Well, it was part of a bigger idea that got consolidated into a movie. It was supposed to be a series, right? And then it got consolidated into a single movie. And there's like parts of it that were supposed to go in other directions. That was like his original vision, but then they're just like, screw it. And so Mulholland Drive specifically, as far as David Lynch movies go, there is dead ends. Like, this doesn't actually go anywhere because he had another vision of where it was going to go, and then it never came to fruition. But like, if you look at take your pick of any other movie. Like they do actually have a cohesive. So like a lot of it is like cryptic dream symbolism stuff, but he'll be referencing something that's so specific, but you'd have to know all the references in a row to see what it is that he's illustrating, you know? Like,
have you guys ever seen the Rabbit sitcom that Lynch did?
yeah.
Because it spawned off of well, he uses what's her face, Naomi Watts, like multiple times. Isn't she in Mulholland Drive?
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in that though. That didn't have Juliette Lewis or something too. I forget, or maybe it was just Naomi Watts. I can't remember.
Well, Naomi Watts is credited in the whole Rabbit thing. So I was following her and watched literally, it's like 30 minutes of just rabbits sitting there, like actors with rabbit heads, and basically, you know, everyone's living room on TV. It's basically the Cosbys. And then the
sitcom from hell, I think is how he put it.
Yeah. What?
I think he referred to it as a sitcom from hell.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because Matt Groening's original series was called Hell, that featured rabbits.
Right? I know. Yeah. I totally tripped out on that for sure. Like, yeah,
well, there's the whole
life in hell.
Wilson Rabbit thing. You guys know about this, right?
Right. Yeah, you break it down. You break it down better than me.
Robert Anton Wilson was trying to use Aleister Crowley's magical ritual in contacting one's holy guardian angel. That night he went to bed and had these visions of a guy teaching him all about the planet Sirius. Later on, he moved to Ireland because of political reasons. He said once Reagan was in office, he was going to leave the country because an actor shouldn't be president. And an individual who was in, I think it's Ireland, wherever Dublin is, right? Where the James Joyce Odyssey took place. And there on the radio, he's telling his experience about Sirius and stuff. And a guy calls in and starts talking about the puka, which is the whole giant talking rabbit idea. But it goes deeper in that. Like there's different ideas of the puka. But anyways, in research, Robert Anton Wilson watched this movie called Harvey. Isn't it Harvey?
Yeah, but you're skipping a step, I believe, because it's one of my favorite parts of the story is that he was looking at a book in the library and he saw where he found the puka.
Movie Harvey. Now listen to me for a second, David, because it happens in the movie. It's a double layered thing. It's a sync because he's researching, watching Harvey, and in the movie, the word puka is brought up. And the orderly who is in the hospital goes over to the bookcase and grabs a book. And he opens the book and he looks up puka. And it tells him the whole definition of puka. And at the very end, and it goes, and how do you do, Mr. Wilson? Because his name is Wilson.
Right.
But it had an impact on Robert because it was like the movie was talking to him about the puka.
Wait, that's in the movie itself? He looks it up and it says, hello, Mr. Wilson, in the book, in the movie.
Yes.
Because I thought the reason why it said hello, Mr. Wilson, because it's referencing the movie like a joke.
No, it's referencing that the idea of the puka, when the guy's reading the dictionary, it references his name in the book.
Okay, so you watched Harvey in recent years? Like I haven't seen that movie since
I was a kid. I
the
researched the shit out of this, man.
All right. I stand reflected. Good job.
Because it's a sync. You understand what I'm saying? The movie is talking to Robert Anton Wilson because he's researching, trying to find this whole puka idea, and in finding Harvey, he's like, "Wait, this is about a puka."
Right.
So you should watches that because you got to realize it is a sync. That's like, what's the guy's name who's in that? It's the same guy who's in A Wonderful Life. And A Wonderful Life deals with this holy guardian angel.
Jimmy Stewart.
James Stewart.
I'll give you the moon.
Oh, we'll just take it to Mulholland then.
Also, Ivy Wallace's book, the Pookie, or series of books, Pookie, all about a fairy rabbit. This rabbit that has wings, right? Which is another Welsh and British story that's kind of lost now, I think. But
he's considered to be a fairy. Like the puka is a fairy.
Wait. Okay, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is from the Irish folklore of the puka that it originated from this idea of like the guy that stumbles out of the pub and is walking home late at night and gets confronted by like a 10-foot tall bunny rabbit, and no one will ever believe him because they saw him leave drunk. There's
Right.
a movie based on this called, what is it, Space Invaders or something. It came out the same year and day as David Bowie's Heroes. And
But then
David Bowie's
Robert
Heroes.
Anton Wilson had he discovered that like Bugs Bunny is the first recorded American to get abducted. It happens
Sure.
in this, you know, like I can't remember what the name of the episode is. I used to know, but it has to do with like Marvin the Martian, like abducting him,
Yeah.
right?
Dude,
And then
Brer Rabbit also, you know, because
he recognized it in all kinds of other things that were associated. Like there's a whole bunch of UFO sightings where the individuals found like decapitated rabbits around, and then he
Well, it's
also
interesting.
said that
I did a thing a long
first
time ago about
rabbit.
I didn't think about the Song of the South because, you know, yeah, and also Lisby's bringing up Donnie Darko, and I was thinking, like, you haven't seen Harvey more recently than when you were a child. What, are you too good for Donnie Darko? Don't you feel like you got to go deeper there?
Right, but like Donnie Darko, Strange attracts the number 23 in that way too. It's crazy.
Right.
But
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good stuff in Donnie Darko, but with Brer Rabbit, which is all about being abducted constantly and getting your way out of being abducted or being in captivity. Like a lot of his stories are, we're gonna trap you. And he's like, all right, frogs, dig it deeper to make sure I can't get out of that hole. Because if it gets too hot, then I'm gonna jump out of that hole because I'm a rabbit. So you have to dig it deeper. And the frogs are like, is it deep enough yet? He's like, well, hold on. Like, can you like jump out for a second and like let's look at it together. And the frogs keep jumping out until they can't jump out anymore. And now it's too deep. They jump out. He's trapped his captors, right? And so all of those stories aren't from America. They're brought there's a few, but a lot of those stories are just retold versions of Akan mythology from Africa, right? So these are super ancient stories and probably about the hair. Like the hair
It's
goes
brought
back.
up in Watership Down. Like Watership
Right.
Down is written from the perspective of the rabbits, and they have like a whole mythology of this trickster god, and it gives you their whole like theology on how like every other animal has all these other traits, but the rabbit has its smarts. And then that goes into Bugs Bunny and all of that. Like that's what Bugs Bunny and Brer Rabbit are almost the same character.
All the world will be your enemy, prince with 1,000 enemies, and wherever they catch you, they will kill you. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that ingrained memory.
Yeah, that's kind of Liber Oz right there. That's crazy.
That fucking book, man. Jesus. That'll
Yeah.
fuck you up. That will have you like, I'm a rabbit. Oh my God, I'm a rabbit. Nobody told me.
Well, that's one of those ones where like the cartoon does the book justice. I feel like the cartoon really is terrifying as well. Yeah. Yeah. Any more bunny thoughts?
Something I wanted you to check. Oh, look up Harvey Puka quote, and I guarantee you it will go through the whole thing that it says in the no, don't put Robert Anton Wilson, just put movie quote. Like keep it to the movie. A great
P-O-O-K Puka spelled like that. Okay.
From old yeah, no, that was the quote. It said the whole thing.
It was better there. P-O-O-K Puka from old Celtic mythology, a fairy spirit in animal form, always very large. The Puka appears here and there now and then to this one and that one, a benign but mischievous creature.
It doesn't say the end part. And how do you do, Mr. Wilson, or something like that?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, there it is right there. Yeah. Very fond of rum pots and crack parts. And how do you do, Mr. Wilson?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. It's okay. So, rabbits, Robert Anton Wilson, twisters. I was going to ask Alex Cryptocubrology about this, but did anybody see this movie but me? Am I the only one?
Well, not yet, but hold on. I do have a twister rabbit sync just to bridge us there. Because I was thinking of the movie Gummo. The movie Gummo has this really like iconic rabbit hat as like the main character, and the whole premise of that movie is that they live in this town that keeps getting ravaged by twisters nonstop. So no one really can build up any sort of life there because everything just keeps getting shattered over and over again.
Right.
Somebody hit me up the other day trying to pop quiz me on what the movie that plays in the first Twister is. Remember, they're at like a drive-in movie theater.
The Shining.
The Shining, right?
Boom. So easy. But I think that's weird that we're talking about that now.
Right. But you guys know like Dark Side of the Rainbow, like Wizard of Oz starts out with the Twister, obviously, and also has run, rabbit, run, dig that hole, forget the sun, and when at last the work is done, don't sit down, it's time to dig another one, which likens her to a rabbit, basically. So, and then there's also just all the correspondences between Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz for
Yeah.
days, and probably they're both extend in a way from the children's Bluebird.
I
And
don't
that seems
remember
like a
for
pretty
sure.
typical trickster rabbit, the white rabbit from
Mhm.
Alice in Wonderland, right? Like that. It's basically a trickster rabbit. It's the
That's the
catalyst.
whole thing.
for-
He's a trickster rabbit.
I need to
totally.
watch
I mean,
Twisters again because I didn't really notice a rabbit, and I feel like someone's gonna tell me like, dude, obviously that was the rabbit, and I didn't think about it. But there were like the pale horse, and there was all of the Wizard of Oz symbolism. Basically, they have a chemtrail geoengineering company versus another company that's trying to buy property from people that's following storms, and she's trying to, the main character, put silver iodine or something like that, like
Yep. Silver
into-
iodide.
into the sky.
You're
In the
seeing
sky.
the clouds, man.
Somebody
Into-
here says Lewis Carroll was a Rosicrucian. Is that true? I mean, I know Walt Disney
So,
was
yeah.
was a certain form of Rosicrucian. Was Lewis Carroll a Rosicrucian? I didn't know that.
Makes
Is that
sense.
true? Well, I mean,
They're
I don't
all
know.
Rosicrucians. Jesus.
I mean, he was definitely like a mathematician in some sort of secret societies. Which
Right, right.
one, whether or not
Was that
that's
it?
not-
I don't know. Is he on record of that? Like, is he on the?
Well, it looks like it, I guess. I mean, historic mysteries. Is this like legit or is this some fake page? I don't know. We have to go back. Wait, where was I saying? I was talking about
Oh.
chemtrails and twisters. So first, there's 4 vehicles. They have to triangulate around the twister in order to 3D scan the thing while they're putting silver into the thing in order to control the weather, right? This is about
Alchemy.
weather. This is about weather control and alchemy and sacrificing your friends'
Wait.
lives
So
to do it.
you've seen
right?
you've seen it. I have to ask you. In the first one, it's just to map and understand the twister. In this one, you're saying it's to influence
It's
the
to
twister and to
control it.
redirect
Yeah,
it.
it's to control it. Yeah, it's to control it, and it's about learning about. It's basically alchemy because you have to sacrifice lives to do it, but you're going to through this and using silver and stuff, right? Like that's the thing that I thought was
Mhm.
most interesting that they even mentioned that in the
Yeah.
story.
Which makes
You're gonna
sense
be
from the
able
Yellow
to-
Brick Road to the Emerald City,
Yeah.
and you
And then you get
transition,
to, and then it's, but once you've shattered the road, you have the Pecos Bill, reference. Like this guy who's the tornado wrangler, the twister wrangler. Like he can wrangle, and they ask as a joke, what does it mean to wrangle a tornado? You know what I mean?
I
and,
just
like, you
imagine
find
him
out.
having, like the DNA strands voice from Jurassic Park.
Right.
Well, they wrangle a tornado, and Will was just referencing "It's a Wonderful Life." What do you want? Jimmy Stewart's like, the moon. I'll lasso it.
Moon, I lasso you to moon.
That's kind of on that level, and like the moon's obviously like connected to this too. But yeah, this idea of riding the tornado, and also they have a theater scene. They have a lot of synchronicities with at least the last film. I don't want to ruin it for you. I'm just trying to tell you some.
No,
like,
ruin
key-
it, please. I don't care.
There's just some key synchronicities that you should look for in the journey, right? Because the
I wanna
movie is a
speak
movie.
for everybody, but
It's not a movie that's about spoilers, especially since it's a reboot and a
Dude,
sequel.
syncs don't work that way with
Yeah.
like as far as spoilers go. Like it's weird.
Right.
Like if there's a significant enough sync, like I want to know it going into it. Honestly, like it's
Right.
so I
No,
can
because you
watch
kind
out
of
for it.
like you it makes it more powerful in a way because you're paying
Right,
more
it's more
attention, like,
enduring.
looking for it, and then you're like, "Yep, that's what it is."
Yeah.
That's
So, but like
it is.
but that's what I'm saying is what little surprises there are in the movie, I'm willing to spare you. I'm just saying with the most enduring syncs, one of the most enduring syncs is that, like in the first movie where they're watching The Shining in the theater, they're watching in the theater in the second movie, Frankenstein. And it's really interesting because of the connection of making the weather, controlling the weather, the alchemy of wrangling the tornado, that as this is happening, they're screaming, "It's alive!" And the whole thing, "I've created a monster," and like the whole Frankenstein movie is going on.
Isn't
That's
there
the
like
twist
a
they
new
made.
Nosferatu? What is that?
Bro,
Nosferatu.
there's a new Nosferatu that also stars William Dafoe. So that's
Yeah.
2 Nosferatu movies that star William Dafoe.
Willem.
Willem.
But yeah.
Sorry, I have to be that guy. But yeah, I
Hey,
used
man,
to
but
say
you
William.
know-
I always spell it correctly. I just said
Nosferatu.
Right.
So, that's what it is.
No, I think it's an A24 movie, isn't it? Like freaking what is it? Robert Eggers or is it the Ari Aster?
Yeah,
Aster or
Eggers
something?
Eggers has the new 2024 just clean Nosferatu, Gothic Tale of Obsession.
Ooh, that
Emma
looks
Corrin.
fun. That's the October surprise. No, it's Christmas. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, Emma Corrin. Interesting. Isn't she the one
Dude,
from? Isn't she
I saw
she's in
this
Deadpool,
crazy
yeah.
Willem Dafoe movie the other day that had him. He was trying to be a cat burglar, and he gets stuck in an apartment complex. But it syncs perfectly, like the symbolism and everything, with Finding Nemo because he's the Scar guy. See, it's so weird because certain people do so many movies. You can't group all of their movies and say their movies sync together. It's like there's like different bubbles of sort of like Venn diagrams where they're dealing with this symbolism over here and they're dealing with this symbolism over here. And they all kind of like sort of connect. But sometimes like individuals like Samuel L. Jackson, could you ever imagine trying to link all of his movies? It would be impossible.
Well,
But
isn't
Willem Dafoe
Finding
has like this Nosferatu thing, but he also has like this Jesus thing.
for
And then he
sure?
also has like this fish thing, what I guess would also apply to Jesus, would be like
Yeah.
a sub-sex symbol of Jesus, so to speak.
Hey,
Honestly, even his life aquatic role is kind of
Right.
like, you know,
Water.
wasn't Finding Nemo like the premise of that movie is like that he wants to get into the U.S. so he's like an immigrant fish
yeah.
and he has to like
And his dad's trans because he's a clownfish. Like, you know what I mean?
Never-
Does anyone study marine biology, or is that just me? Yeah.
I always found there was like an MK Ultra aspect to Dory, the fish that like keeps losing her memory and keeps getting
Oh
lost.
yeah,
everywhere.
I could
Right.
see that.
That she's
Yeah.
just been shot. She's had so many personalities drilled into her through like.
She
100,000
should have been named
percent.
Patches, the patchwork fish.
Yeah.
There's probably something to Dory too, but I didn't see the movie Dory. Did anyone see that one? Where she?
Yeah, I
loved
can't
it,
remember
man.
too much about it, but it just carries on this. There's that same MK Ultra creepy feel to it.
Man, we
Because
gotta
it's the
study that
same
harder.
thing. She has these flashbacks of who she is and stuff like that. Real weird octopus scenes in that movie.
Yeah, it has like a Jason Bourne
Yeah.
quality to it.
So what was the Jason Bourne mom movie from like early 2000s?
you're right.
You know what I'm talking about? It's that movie. There's like a mom who is a spy and she's forgotten it. She's got these she forgot that she was.
Oh,
a
Salt?
spy. No, it's like from
Salt?
2001.
Didn't that happen in Salt though with Angelina Jolie where she was a spy but didn't know it? I thought that was it.
I think
Or
so.
maybe
too.
she did know it and she was just I don't know, whatever.
I don't know. I'll have to
Well, it's
find
like
it.
True Romance or whatever, right? No, not True Romance. The True Lies, the one with what's her
Right.
face
But
and
she
all
just found out that her husband was a spy. But yeah.
Right.
I thought Tom Arnold was gonna be so
Total
huge, man, when he
recall.
was in that. I thought he was gonna be like the biggest freaking funniest actor. And then it just it went to the Stupids and then it went out. Alex will tell you
The
esoteric
Stupids
stuff
is
about the Stupids.
kind of that, right? Where he's like ends up being a spy and doesn't realize it.
Sure. Oh yeah, totally.
And
He's
there was another one
a-
like the man who knew too
Knew
little.
Too Little. Yeah,
Nope.
yeah, with Bill Murray. Yeah, and that one's
Long
crazy
Kiss
because it centers
Goodnight.
around the Russian doll. You know,
Remember The Long Kiss
Oh
Goodnight?
yeah,
Totally.
That was the one.
because
Long
that's
Kiss
Rennie
Goodnight.
Harlan. Type
What?
on directed by Rennie Harlan. I'm pretty sure
Hold on, I'll go
Rennie
back to it.
Harlan his first movie was with Andras Jones.
Really? Yeah, Rennie
Yeah,
Harlan.
but Rennie Harlan ended up marrying what's her face, the girl who was just in that last one, The Long Kiss Goodnight.
So
the
wait,
main
Deep Blue
character-
Sea probably syncs with Dory then, right? If you think about it, that's what it's got to be about.
Deeper, smarter, faster.
Mhm.
My head is like a shark fin.
Is
Oh,
it a
this
Dory
was-
Previn reference? Is that why she's Dory?
Long Kiss
Is it
Goodnight
like
was
a
a
Woody
good
Allen
movie.
connected thing?
I'd recommend Long Kiss Goodnight to any mom. So wait, the Back to the Future musical. I
Oh,
wanted to
great.
talk about. What do you guys
Look
thought
at the
about?
weird thing on the side, the circuits on the side. That's creepy.
So I mean, it's really exciting. The
Two
Broadway
towers and
Hours, yeah, dude.
the Broadway musical is going to be freaking amazing. They're doing a tour. It's going to be everywhere. San Francisco.
Wait. It's the Pinheads is the name of the band.
Yes.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It says,
So what the hell with the fact that freaking
that looks like they're in hell.
the
That literally
first,
looks like
yeah,
they're in
dude.
hell.
The first and the third Hellraiser movies were released on September 11th. So
we're
like
getting there.
both of them, and then the third one has the two towers in the movie poster.
Let's do another one real quick, just because you had to say that. So it's playing in Minneapolis on September. Guess what day I'm going?
Jesus, come on,
I've got my
man.
tickets already for
Oh my
September
God.
11th,
22, so it's KK.
bro.
But
Yeah,
shut up.
yeah.
That's ridiculous, dude.
Shut up.
I'm
Fair
mad.
enough.
That's ridiculous.
Hey, did you guys know that if you play that song from the Breakfast Club, "Don't You Forget About Me" on repeat with Back to the Future, it just goes, the whole thing just goes in sync with it. You just "Don't you forget about me"
As he's disappearing from the photograph.
over and over again. Yeah, that's the best part of the sync. Actually, is when that happens. It lines up right when it says "Don't you forget about me." It's crazy. Sorry.
Hey,
There's another set of syncs I owe Mickey Fitz. Mickey Fitz, who's been watching a long time. Shout out to you. He put a whole string in here if you didn't see it. Bernard Hill played Captain. F around and find out. And Theodon King in Lord of the Rings. Billy Zane was also on board the ill-fated vessel. There's a bunch more too. Brad Pitt researching was assaulted in Belfast. Troy, I don't know the Belfast link. To the
Dude, he's
smog
great.
Dracula.
I thought he corrected me, but I thought like for a while that his name was just a play on Ricky Fitz from American Beauty.
He's like, no,
But,
I'm actually Mickey. That's cool.
No, he's like, no, I don't know if his name's actually Mickey. I can't remember, but he's a great person on Twitter to like in terms of just classic sync thread things. You know, he just pitched something to Jake Coates, and Jake Coates was like, "Oh yeah, totally, it's pretty awesome."
Hey man, check out Jake Coates' Twitter and all this shit he was saying about like President Harris before that ever even happened.
Yeah, he's been doing that predictive thing that he does lately. Yep.
Wow.
Being totally on point with the syncs tell you before the thing takes place. Yeah.
American Time Machine. I feel like you have to have an opinion on Back to the Future, right?
You've turned me on to getting around to watching the movie eventually, so I'll let you know.
Oh my
once I
god!
actually watch the movie.
Well,
yeah.
there you
Sorry,
go. You're my anchor, bro.
No,
You're my anchor back into this reality. I gotta say, like, wow.
I did see
Thank
the
you for
scene
that.
where he's playing guitar at the party, and the joke was like, "There's no way he got that type of tone out of that Stratocaster and that Fender amp." That's it. Yeah, it was.
That's your critique. That's the most unplausible part of Back to the Future for you is the guitar.
You clearly you didn't pay attention to the very first scene where like you
Love
see
the
all the
time
equipment.
travel, but that's the wrong amp.
Yes,
need
exactly.
to have-
Like, I don't know. I do. When I was a kid, I saw the scene where he does literally go, Back to the Future, or maybe it's the first time going to the future. I don't know, but he was like on the skateboard and stuff. That was like the only memorable thing that I remember. Like it was just on TV. I was a broke kid, so I didn't even have like Cartoon Network or anything. I had to watch everything like just on TV. It wasn't like satellite, or it was just whatever my cable provider had.
But
there. So
you know that Back to the Future is about 9/11, right? It's like about, you know what I'm talking about, like the Twin Towers or the Twin Pines Mall. It's a movie about it's about a terrorist attack that hits the Twin Pines Mall, right? Terrorist attack, Twin Pines Mall, upside down, 9/11 you know what I'm talking about? The whole movie's encoded.
I remember that we talked about this, and I still haven't, witnessed it for myself. But
in all of film history, this is the most literal depiction of the falling of the Twin Towers because of a
the
VHS
Statue of
tracking tape.
Liberty is right there at the bottom. You see the torch.
Yeah, you see the torch of the
in
statue
the living room for no
You see
real
that right
reason.
there? There's a freaking Statue of Liberty torch right there in their hands. Michael J. Fox and in drag is pointing to it essentially. And you also are, while the towers are upside down, you have the father upside down. So you're supposed to be watching it from his perspective, right? The only time you're supposed to see something where anyone's literally upside down. Right.
Here's what I don't get. If you're gonna take the time to play like Nostradamus, like why don't you like take on an event where 100,000 people die? And so, I'm just saying, like,
well, because you don't actually need 9/11. You don't actually need to kill that many people to have a big deal. You just need to have a major optics thing. And in fact, if a lot of people die, there aren't as many witnesses. So really the cool thing is if you hit a major city where everyone knows somebody who knows somebody like Kevin Bacon, and they're all transient because New York City is a place where people come and then they go from all over the world again, right? then everyone will say, oh yeah, I know about that. And it's the most, you can put all of the eyes of the whole world on one event. This is bigger than Elvis. You have to understand, right? There's nothing like this except for maybe the Elvis concert where everyone was watching TV at the same time. And that was even just for 3 hours. This was for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? I mean, this is the most powerful unilateral focusing lens panoptic movement that ever occurred yet, right?
Yeah, I think before this it was like the lunar landing, right, where you had people all over the world watching some footage, and then it's like this event fits in really well with that song by John Fogerty, I Know It's True because I saw it on TV. It's on center field. It's like this could fit in right along that chain of things that it's referencing, that it's true because you saw it happen, right? Like no one would believe what happened on 9/11 if they didn't see it, right? I mean, it's like that's like Manly P. Hall said, no one would believe the pyramids exist.
That's okay. So the real question is, so like, once we confirm, conspiracies or subliminal messaging, or once it becomes like obvious. So like Back to the Future, again, I still have not seen it, but like conspiracies, like 1992 JFK, I talk about it all the time. Great movie. We get into, okay, why did the director do this? Why did they prophesy this? And well, it came, obviously, if it was prophesied, it came to fruition. But what was the point in trying to show everybody in the movie? Like, what was there just?
I don't think you understand. The first thing that people go to is on purpose. But long studiers of synchromysticism know that's not exactly true, because you talk to people and they don't even remember why they did certain things. Like, I just interviewed a guy on MetaEgg that researched symbolism being put in Philip K. Dick's movies all the way to it being improv'd on the scene. Like, but no, everybody's in agreement that it's a sync. So all inspiration is prophecy. Do you get what I'm saying?
There's a distinction between prophecy and prediction, right?
It's inspiration. Inspiration and prophecy come from the same place. So if you're inspired or creative to do something, you're pulling out of the same pool that myth comes out of. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just takes you to like understand that it's like you can't not do it.
Dude, I don't know, man, but American Time Machine should freaking do a react video to watching Back to the Future for the first time, and share a story about how he grew up in a commune where they had no television, and that some of the characters remind him of Sister Margaret or something. Like,
he's very close to the Mennonites, but in the back. Okay, Kurt, are you there? You're still there, Kurt, or did you have to go feed your cat? I think we lost him.
I think we scared him away.
I think that I insulted him. He left.
He's like, you know what? Synchromysticism, hogwash, and booiness.
I'm gonna go talk to my cat.
His camera got a freezy.
I'm out of here.
So this is interesting because I've been studying the prophets a lot.
You're Dad, and I'm Doug.
Teens, adults don't mix. Sorry, go on, sir.
All of their names mean something. All of the prophets name their kids like on the nose stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? Like. And then that's what we see when
baby's back.
They study the names and stuff involved with like very popular events. And it's like a character in a story, right? Like if you name the character something and it means something that applies to the character, right? Like a real person has the same thing. Some people have called it like the soul's code or whatever. Like this one guy wrote this book, James Hillman wrote this book, who was like the basically the guy who picked up the torch from Joseph Campbell. But he wrote this book about the soul.
More like just took the torch from Carl Jung, but go on.
Yeah, who took the torch from Carl Jung. So it's the same sort of idea that a individual has sort of like symbolism that applies to who they become later in life at the beginning of their life. So one of the stories I remember is fun for me to say because I always remember it, is like an individual who was known for hiding behind his mom's red apron becomes like a Minotaur or something. Like symbolically, that shyness is overcome
Matador
by the same symbol.
Like a mentor or a matador or both?
A matador, like a guy who fights bulls. He was like this guy who was very shy and always hid behind his mom's apron.
Yeah.
But later in life, he becomes like a matador who fights bulls and is like cheered on by the whole town. He's using this cape with like this enormous amount of like confidence. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what? They'd be better off though to use like a blue piece of fabric with white polka dots. You know,
let's freaking do it. So let's start with like the simple synchronicity. Oh, what a weird set of coincidences, right? This is some coincidences that are happening. Who knows why it's happening? Obviously, you've got the all-seeing eye, third eye in the clock tower, save the clock tower scene after the 9/11, etc. happens. But you have Robert Zemeckis, and Robert Zemeckis, you'll find out in 30 years, and we have this whole idea that in 30 years, well, on the date in the Time Machine movie, that they travel back to the future, right, to 2015, he makes this other movie, right, in October 2015 called The Walk, which is about walking across the Twin Towers, again, which are shown in the Back to the Future movie. He's got a movie about them walking across the Twin Towers, and it's starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but he's dressed as Marty McFly. What the heck? He's got this leather black jacket and the red turtleneck.
Right, now, and then you got Angels in the Outfield with Christopher Lloyd as the angel too. So it's like he's archetypally like playing that role at the same time.
And you could say that that's just a coincidence, but it's also pretty weird that and then let's also look for just a second at Robert Zemeckis and the years of production that he makes stuff, and he's done producer, executive producer, which means he was just paying for it for a while there. 2 years, he makes The Flight, and then for 3 years there's nothing until he does The Walk. So for 3 years, that's like his only lull in his career. Everything else is like year after year after year. He does Castaway, Beowulf, etc. Finally, he does The Walk, and it's in 2015, right to come out when the Back to the Future movie, says the future is. So in a weird way, he kind of is filling into that prophecy, whether he means to or not.
Right.
But he's kind of choosing what it's about.
Wait. There's a lot of weird stuff, because look up the one where I'm pretty sure it's not Zemeckis, but the other guy who supposedly wrote Back to the Future has another movie with Christopher Lloyd and Marty McFly.
There's one more thing I thought was just too good. Is like, what's the movie that Zemeckis made 3 years before it? The movie he focused on making with Denzel Washington that was so important to him, right? The last movie he made before The Walk.
About Flight. The airplane being an act of God, so it's basically
this crazy act of God craft with this guy with John Goodman he saves. It's a miracle landing after.
Remember those two are fallen together.
Can you go back to The Walk right now? Like, just
for sure, quickly
go back to The Walk on IMDb.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think
What is?
I just want to see something. Okay, yeah, I was just curious. This is 2 hours and 3 minutes. That's 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I got to sync with The Walk with Leonard Cohen's Popular Problems. But that album references 9/11 in all these ways. But it didn't even occur to me when I put those together that so the documentary on Philippe Petit, whatever his name is, the guy who actually did this in real life, who attached this wire between the towers and walked across. Like, that guy's documentary is called Man on a Wire. And then Leonard Cohen had a documentary called Bird on a Wire, named after his song. And I didn't even know when I went to pair the Leonard Cohen album with The Walk that the woman in The Walk who plays Joseph Gordon-Levitt's girlfriend, she plays Suzanne in the movie. So like when she's panhandling. And so I was just like, it tripped me out because like I didn't even like, I was just like playing with the volume in between the vocals, and then I was like, wait, is she singing freaking Suzanne like right in the space between? It tripped me out.
Well, do you think it's like, you think that this is like, as a filmmaker who's made tons of movies, and you haven't seen Marty McFly in The Flight, you didn't have Denzel Washington dressed as Marty McFly. Why is it you think that at the time that he says 30 years after his movie, that you'll find out in 30 years, you've got someone in his own movie dressed up the same way? Right. He's choosing it, right? Do you really feel like it's just coincidence?
Yeah, well,
Interstate 60 by Bob Gale. Interstate 60, the movie.
Right. That Jordan Barty has a sync film on that. The one you're talking about.
Interstate 60. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we talked to Joe because the movies you're looking at are Joe's.
Right. But
The
Joe,
sync film you're looking at with predicted 9/11 is Joe Alexander.
yeah, but Joe will
So
tell
Joe
you, or
Alexander
he's told me that
party.
when he did the Back to the Future predicts 9/11, he decided to make it like in the style of a very confident conspiracy video. Like, does he ultimately believe it in the way that he presents it? He might now.
Interstate
But
60
I think when he did
looks
it,
like it's intentional. It looks like everything that they put in. But the Interstate 60 also has Michael J. Fox, and it also has Christopher Lloyd. But it is very like symbolic and over the top. Like, it is just out of control. They're going towards this rainbow thing, and he's a puka. Christopher Lloyd plays a puka. And no, not Christopher Lloyd. Gary Oldman plays the puka, and they mention it. They reference it.
Yeah.
He tells him that's what he is. And they're going through it's basically like Toontown. They're going through like this weird Interstate 60 where all of this weird paranormal shit happens to them. And they're trying to deliver this package to like Rainbow Road or something.
Right. Every single part of this entire low budget movie is done for symbolic purposes to connect synchronistically to all these other films.
Same guy, Bob Gale, that wrote Back to the Future.
That makes up for the lack of special effects.
Right. It was like it's like The Haunting of Julia full circle. It's like it's a movie that like just had to be made for symbolic reasons,
What do you say, Kurt?
I've been through Kansas. I think Kansas is the entire state is haunted for some reason. I also wanted to jump back. I'm still obsessed over this Back to the Future talk because there is that 12-minute YouTube video, and so there's some point where there's so many synchronicities where it doesn't seem like it's fair to call something just a synchronicity because works of art are conscious works of art. So like if there's enough evidence in the movie, apparently most of the evidence is the number 116, and you watch the movie upside down and it says, 9/11, and that happens like 10 times throughout the video. At some point, he's like, okay, this guy knows something. He knows something, not necessarily because he's an insider, but he just knows something about the way the world is working. And so like he's a wizard. He's a wizard that has some sort of secret knowledge that the rest of us don't.
Dude,
which is really cool.
Yeah. While Joe was working on this video, he sat in on sessions with my rabbi where we were dissecting commentary from the Zohar that gives the exact date of 9/11. So like there's an extremely strong argument that certain people have been privy to at least the first section of this text through whatever secret, not so secret societies or whatever they're involved with, because you can see the date being given with this particular symbolism. There's indication, like even going back to like The Big Sleep which The Big Lebowski was made after, like at the beginning of that movie, there's like a message that reads like September 11th on the letter, and then at the beginning of The Big Lebowski, he's like signing the check, and you look at the check's date, and it's September 11th, and then he looks up, and then George Senior Bush is like on the TV saying I think it's the same speech or the same day. That didn't he say the New World Order in that speech on the same day, I believe?
Yeah. Right.
So so there's just it's just loaded, but then you're like, well, how would they know this? Well, if it's predicted in this book, then what's that?
We're talking about only one film. Like you're saying, of course, these individuals who put this stuff in this movie, but Andreas, please, could you look up Mel Gibson Gets High on YouTube?
Oh
my word.
Is that the Sync film you made years ago?
Yeah, but just cut the music
I'll mention
and use the slider. Because it becomes very apparent that
I can't like show your. You know what happens when I show your work.
No, I think it will work. I think it will work.
No, and that's exactly why you know it won't. Will, that's exactly why you know it won't. Okay, I'm just gonna use the slider. I'll just use the slider. That's what we're gonna do.
So all of Mel Gibson's movies have to do with teaching people how to fly, or it's basically Moses freeing.
Except for Braveheart.
Helicopters are a pretty big thing as far as like, of course, the conspiracy theory movie has the black helicopters, but also like they're really prevalent in all the Mad Maxes. But also the movie We Were Soldiers deals with him being the first commander to lead an attack by helicopter into Vietnam. And then, of course, you get Chicken Run. In fact, Chicken Run and Beyond the Thunderdome are almost the exact same movie.
Right, but you know that Chicken Run was based off of Stalag 17 and The Great Escape.
Well, it's definitely, I mean, they're putting chickens in ovens. It's definitely the Americans freeing the Jews from a concentration camp. But we're talking about 26 movies by different producers, different directors, different writers, stuff that comes from cartoons. Like,
this is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, by the way, Stalag 17. And if you look in Chicken Run, you'll see their barracks is actually number 17, like the main barracks
right.
where they're all at.
17 is prevalent through the whole thing. That's the barracks they actually make the flying machine.
I gotta get a picture of Chicken Run just so you can see his jacket, you know.
Yeah, that's Sefton. This is a great freaking movie. And actually that the message of Stalag 17 is so freaking perfect. It's like the guy, sorry to spoil it, but yeah, the guy's in charge of security, and so he's like, you're always screening everybody, but who's screening you? And so they you know, the whole question is who's the stoolie, but it turns out it's the one who's in charge of looking for the stoolie, you know.
So in Beyond the Thunderdome, they mistake him for a pilot.
Stoolie.
They call him Captain Roger or something like that. And then there's other things that happen weird in movies where everybody's calling him Captain, including the one where he's in like the Father movie with Marky Mark and Will Ferrell, and he's the dad, and he's the pilot of a space shuttle, and they keep calling him Captain the whole time.
Hey,
and then also in the Robert Rodriguez movie, he plays an individual who's putting a space shuttle up into the space also. Like, they're all related. It's weird.
Hey, go back to that last shot, Andreas.
That's what his name is.
So like this shot right here, isn't this the scene that's used in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where they put Leonardo DiCaprio's face over his?
Yeah.
So like keeping in mind, like, who's Leonardo DiCaprio? He's the aviator. He played Howard Hughes. I like to talk about this. Yeah. So he plays the guy who flew the biggest plane that had ever been built, which was the Spruce Goose, playing Howard Hughes in this, you know, like double cassette movie, if you're talking VHS, right? And then he's in the movie about the world's biggest boat. And in both cases, you have just like, you know, us pushing the limit on how big a boat can be. And in this case, how big a plane can be. And
can I say a video cassette? Is that all right? Like if I were to say like, this is a video cassette. Because like some people think it's like you have to say VHS because it's like a Band-Aid or something like that. Right. But isn't it like video cassette is like is that like a really, are we right? Because we were like used to Laserdisc, Betamax, VHS. So we're just like being respectful when we say video cassette.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the right way to put it. Some people hate it when I say video cassette.
Well, they're wrong.
Or cassette tape. How about cassette tape? Could I say cassette tape?
No, because then I'm thinking of an audio tape.
My ally just...
My favorite is VHS cassette.
Oh, dude, cassette tape. I'm going to keep saying cassette tape. I tried to like sneak it in there, but I think you won your point. Okay, but back to... Come on, man. I was almost to a point and I lost what it was. Where was it? Oh, yeah. The really deep conspiracy. The really deep conspiracy in Back to the Future that everyone should know. And this is my pitch of what's really going on. You know that there are deleted scenes in Back to the Future, the original version
of
Eric Stoltz. So really there's another Back to the Future 0, which you don't get to see, which is, and Eric Stoltz totally caught on to what was going on because he said this is a nightmare movie where my character will never see my family again. You know, I'll never meet them again because they're destroyed and I meet a new version of my family, which are not my family, right? But how true is that when you consider the idea that there's this horrible relationship with Biff, even if he's not married to the mother and she's married to this guy from high school, it's not actually really truly his father. You look at the prison record of his older brother, you look at the nebbishness, it seems like the deal is Eric Stoltz was Marty McFly in the Bastard Biff timeline until befriending a time traveler named Emmett Brown who helps Marty Prime go back in time to protect his mother and select his own father. Not unlike Terminator.
Sounds true also.
That's cool.
Not unlike Terminator.
Just like Crispin, bro.
Think about it.
Creepo.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking crap about Crispin Glover, man?
Because no, the
Crispin
thing is,
Glover,
because
bro.
think about who would pick Crispin Glover. Obviously, Eric Stoltz would pick Crispin Glover. It's
Bro, I
so
became
insane,
obsessed
but it
with
would
Crispin
destroy
Glover.
him. It would destroy him. You know.
I listened to a whole bunch of interviews about Back to the Future that Crispin Glover talked about, and that was a really like crazy, because that scene in 2 where he's upside down isn't him. That's like somebody else.
Right. But it's a dude wearing a prosthetic version of his face because they took a
Right.
casting of his face.
Because they owned it from the first movie when they made him look older. They made a face cast of his mask or his face.
Now they say that it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh,
they say it wasn't.
He won that.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he won that, and then with a bunch of that money, because he had problems with them beforehand. Originally in the script, when they go back into the future, it isn't Biff who is being the servant of the family. He doesn't say it, but you can read in between the lines that it was the black family that was there before. You know how Marty goes back into 1985 and it's wrong, and there's a black girl in his, and he jumps out. When they go back in time, the black family is like a maid service. The dad's like the butler or something. And Crispin Glover was like, "What the fuck is this?" And there was a big argument on making it and turning it into Biff.
There was a whole thing also with the original Back to the Future version of the future was going to be like the Metropolis future, not the 80s that we're familiar with. It was going to be just this super perfect future. But it kind of, the idea that this is the super perfect future if you choose it to be, was decided on, which is also kind of this weird inversion because it's not. And you can see in Back to the Future 2 a much clearer Metropolis future, which is, sort of like what we had, but not quite. Like, we don't have the hovercrafts and stuff, but we had the drone security cameras recording the teenagers breaking things in front of the city hall.
Dude, somebody found Lloyd R. Christbearer. They re-uploaded it to YouTube. And as far as I know, like, I haven't asked Joe, but that movie, that sync film, there's 2 sync films actually that are connected. And from my understanding, he thought that they were both lost forever. Like, he lost those films, and then somebody just re-uploaded it, like they had downloaded it in the past. It was on the one on Vimeo. Lloyd R. Christbearer is like as good, if not better, than Back to the Future predicts 9/11 in my
It goes
opinion.
way into Angels in the Outfield, because
Goes
he's
in,
like,
the whole, and the Page Master and Buckaroo Banzai, and like he connects them all together. It's so freaking rad. And like his other
the head angel named Al. I just finished that, by the way. We need to watch it together, Andreas. Talking to you.
I got a way more gnarly movie for you because you're a family man. Okay, are we ready? All right, hot take: Tooth Fairy could not be made today.
I saw you posted that earlier today.
A lot of movies that couldn't be made today.
That's my new meme. I'm gonna say it like Acolyte couldn't be made today. I'm gonna start posting that all the time. Just anything. Whenever it gets canceled, I'm gonna be like, that couldn't be made today. But Tooth Fairy, have you seen it? Do you know what it is? Because it's Dwayne Johnson is the freaking Tooth Fairy. Oh my god! All right, well, do it. Give him a run.
Research.
Give him exactly. Give him a rundown because there's a lot to this. Obviously, let's start with the obvious that Vikings wear the teeth of children in order to protect them. Warriors wear baby teeth. Witches wear baby teeth. A collection of baby teeth. Yeah, you got something?
So I was going to bring up the movie Vikings, or not the movie, the show Vikings. Have you guys seen the show Vikings?
I had a housemate that was obsessed with it. But
sorry for the sorry for the interjection. So
no, people love that show.
There's in that show, there's a seer. The seer is one of the cooler characters, I think, of the show. And so I think this connects to the whole, like, Back to the Future thing. Because, like, the seer is really good. Like, he's good at telling people what the fuck is up and, like, predicting their future. But they're like, okay, if you know what's going to happen, why don't you tell us how to fix all these problems? He says, like, well, like, because you can't, like, understand it. Like, you're literally too stupid. I think that's why, people could have a reason for saying, okay, here's the prophecy. You can choose to see it if you want to, but I literally cannot put it in explicit terms.
Dude, that's what I said when I got caught shoplifting bananas, and I was just like, dude, I come from the year 2027 where we don't pay for food anymore, and I can't even like tell you, like, it doesn't go over very well.
Yeah, but that connects to Vikings. You were talking about Vikings connecting to the Tooth Fairy. Sorry.
No, I wanted to go deep into it because I feel like there is something. Isn't there like another? I was trying to find. Isn't it Bound by? There's another. Be Foreigners, right? Be Foreigners is like the time travel Viking show. It's about like Oslo police detectives that travel back in time. You guys see the Be Foreigners show, but Tooth Fairy though. Tooth Fairy is like you have Julie Andrews and you don't know what she's up to, but she's obviously a witch, right?
Billy
And like
Crystal.
and Billy Crystal, who speaks like 36 languages in real life. Everyone needs to know everything they can about Billy Crystal. I don't know, that guy is anybody who can do like stand up improv in Yiddish, French, German, Italian, like at the same time. That guy's amazing. He's a polymath. But in this series, he's Jerry, this elf, I guess, or this fairy, and there's definitely some gender role things that they kind of like play with. That
Is this like he got a daughter, and then he's like, I'm going to be in a movie that my daughter can like, or something? Is that what happened?
You know what? Actually, I've got an even better take than that. This is the George Carlin take. So recently, I posted something else. George Carlin migrated from Shriners Clubs to college campuses for a reason. Okay, and the reason is that the audiences get younger that way. So that's all I think all it is. He was doing straight-laced Family Man shows thinking that if the parents thought it was okay, the kids would get to hear it and that he would be like a movie star. That wasn't working out. And then the parents were afraid and hating the younger kids. And all of a sudden he's like, well, I got to just do shows for their kids instead because all their kids were becoming 18. And so he just completely shattered himself from his audience, right? This is not unlike the wrestler The Rock. Because The Rock was, for 30 to 40 to 60-year-old people were watching The Rock wrestler, and that got him where he needed to go at first. But in order to be really famous, you had to like ingratiate yourself with 6-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds who would love you your entire life so that you could be in Jumanji, Disney movies, right?
Escape from Witch Mountain.
Oh my God!
Escape from Witch Mountain matches up to Tooth Fairy also, by the way.
All right, let's also make the point that wrestlers tend to be nerds and like comic geeks that are into lore, and he's super into lore apparently. Like he loves magic cards and Dungeons and Dragons and all that other stuff. So the fact that he chose to be and to rekindle Escape to Witch Mountain, one of the gnarliest Pleiades Atlantean stories about light being children that are being human trafficked by lizard people and occultists with Aleister Crowley, right?
I feel like we have to bring up Suburban Commando at this point because we're kind of describing just like the 2000s version of something that already happened where Hulk Hogan was kind of playing this like sci-fi.
This is my ultimate favorite movie because he's part whale, and he's able to breathe underwater.
There's Christopher Lloyd.
And Shelley Duvall.
I forgot that.
Holy shit!
I forgot that Shelley Duvall was
breathe underwater.
Oh no, but they can hold their breath for a really long time. The whole point is that you gotta. Did you even watch this movie? There's a scene where he has to hold his breath while he swims for like 12 minutes or something like that. I don't know. Suburban Commando.
It has one of my favorite character arcs in it too because Christopher Lloyd at the end finally grows a pair of balls and he shoots this traffic light that's like constantly not letting him go, but everyone else goes, and it's like this huge moment when he decides to kind of take his life into his own hands.
Wow.
Okay, if anybody has a Suburban Commando poster, get in touch with me. I'm gonna need that on my wall.
I'm gonna need that.
I can print it for you. You want that? You can get it. You find a high res image, I'll print it.
I'll work on an AI high res. That's a good point. We can do anything. We're living in the future.
What's the year on that?
Suburban Commando came out in what, 91? Yeah, 91.
I was about to say 91, 92.
Yeah. So, film was originally titled Urban Commando and was intended for Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger when these two opted to make twins. The script was bought by New Line Cinemas, and the follow-up was to another Hulk Hogan, No Holds Barred.
Oh,
right?
Wait! Wasn't The Rock in that first like quote unquote sequel to Donnie Darko? What was that called? Where it's like, this is not how the world ends with a bang. This is how the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper. Yeah, Southland Tales. Wasn't that The Rock in there?
Yeah, The Rock's in that.
Oh yeah. That's not really a sequel to it though, but yeah, Southland Tales.
No,
it's like
it's like cause so is The Box. Like The Box and Southland Tales and Donnie Darko are like some kind of like esoteric trilogy somehow.
I mean, I guess being that he went to Burning Man before he wrote each one of them or something like that.
Well, if you look at the way that they're they're laid out like they share the same, like they're in the same universe. Like
Have
they
you
connect
seen
in
Donnie
certain ways.
Darko or Southland Tales, Kurt?
No, sorry.
All right. Southland Tales, though, I would almost recommend as much as Donnie Darko, because everyone hated it when it came out because it was designed around the idea of taking mainstream actors and making them do things they weren't known for doing. So you take a comedian and make them be a serious role. You have the serious role people be comic, like everything was inverted. Any actor who was like typecast at that point, he gave them a role that didn't fit their normal typecast, and it just shocked American audiences because they'd never seen an actor not play their typecast before in America.
Mandy Moore's in
I
there.
love anything that experiments with inverted roles. It's something I'm working on. Role inversion in my free time. Sorry,
I feel like this movie's also it's great. Also, just that the idea of the movie's about like America, neo-communist, like fascist. I don't know, David, you had a thought on this, or you like this movie as much as I do?
There's like, I really like this thing that people do when there's like a philosophical type concept that they're like circling around, like Donnie Darko does. Like, I think Donnie Darko is like loaded with Kabbalistic stuff, but I feel like the chain of reasoning that exists in Donnie Darko continues in this. And the box is my favorite. That's Cameron Diaz.
That's
with
with
NASA,
Marsden too. The box
70s.
has Marsden, who's in that Interstate 60 that we just watched.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Interstate 60's main character has James Marsden, and he's Candace Diaz's husband.
So you'll know, like, if you watch the box where there's like the 3 pillars, the water pillars, and then he has to choose one, and the guy did like the peace sign to like tell him to do the middle pillar or whatever. Like, I don't know why he trusted that guy to know which pillar to walk into, but there's like, you got to choose between the 3 pillars. Like, it's just loaded with freaking awesome symbolism. I like it.
That's Richard.
A super, super understated movie, The Box. And it's also based on a Playboy story called Button. And it was one of they did it in, I think it was the Twilight Zones from the 90s. They did like the same thing.
Matheson is the same guy who wrote I Am Legend, and he also wrote the one where the gremlins on the plane wing.
Oh,
with,
right. Yeah,
Captain Kirk.
totally. Yeah, so like this is like the Follow the White Rabbit thing, because you have like the rabbit from Donnie Darko, and then the whole thing is based on a Playboy story. Like, it's pretty, something else.
Hard not to notice that, right? The rabbit thing. It seems like he's making the point. I don't know. See, okay, so the puka, is that mainly just a Gaelic thing, or is it?
It's an Irish thing specifically, right?
It's a trickster goblin in Irish, and it's also a really awesome prog rock band that takes forever to find, but Pookah, which had some really cool symbolism behind it too.
I like it better spelled PWCA. What the heck? All right, so puka, considered to be the bringers both of good and bad fortune. They can help or hinder rural or marine communities. Pukai have dark hair or white fur. Have dark or white fur hair. Well, I guess that would be reasonable. The creatures were said to be shape changers that could take the appearance of horses, goats, cats, dogs, and hares. They also may take human form, which includes various animal features such as ears or tails. All right.
Weird. Yeah, so but it connects kind of like to the Greys, right? Because you have like this idea that, they you get abducted and you tell people about it, and they're like, we saw you when you left, you were smashed, but it's like, doesn't matter, no one will believe it. It's like everyone who has a UFO story and they happen to be on psychedelics at the time, and it kind of discounts it, even though it has just as much potential of being legitimate. I don't know.
You scared of puka, Kurt? You afraid?
Sorry, you're gonna have to take some time to explain to me what puka is.
He just did, I thought.
Yeah, they're like grays, bro. They're like grays, and then yeah, shape-shifting, creepy.
Yeah, it's kind of like it sounds David Icke-ian, doesn't it? It sounds like something you'd trip out on and be like, no, for real though. Not these days, I guess. I think he wants to live that down now, doesn't he?
Shape-shifting trickster spirits in Irish mythology. No, you're not worried about shape-shifting creatures.
It's do you fear something you have no knowledge of? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Ooh,
interesting. Look at it. I would definitely be concerned to hang out with this talking rabbit if he was like, imagining it's 6 foot tall. You know,
right?
He seems like a big
shit. Who else has played LSD Dream Emulator? A group chat got me on to playing that this week. So I don't mean to veer. I don't know if we're veering off topic. I don't know, but all right. So there was this PS1 game. It was like only available in Japan, and there was this guy. He called it Dream Emulator, I guess. And so you get in, and there basically is no objective with the game. You can play out different dreams, and yeah, as soon as you start, like day one, there's different days that represent the dreams. You can spend like 10 minutes in the world, and there is no real objective. You just go through 365 days of dreaming. And to complete the game, quote unquote, it would take you, I don't know, like 5 to 10 hours, I think. But no, it could, like, there's all sorts of different, like, weird sounds and stuff. Like, you'll see the walls will change, like, textures, like, every 40 days. And a lot of them will be written in, I think, Japanese is the text. It's either Japanese or Mandarin, but yeah, and those will come from like a dream log that the creator personally wrote. Yeah, sometimes there's like moving entities and stuff, and sometimes there's a gray man that'll like pop. It can feel creepy depending on, you know, what the setting is. Sometimes it's dark. There's like scenes where someone like shoots you, and but that just like takes you to a different scene and stuff. It's like I can't. I've played the game for a few hours now, and I can't.
That's a puka. You met a puka,
really
bro.
Still fully describe it.
You met a virtual.
Well,
puka.
yeah, that's kind of like what's triggered the thought. Yeah, it's like almost like there's a puka inside the game of what you're describing. But
I'm a big fan of the idea that
seen, like,
in games, like, because a lot of times we talk about like horror movies, and I think that gets back to the idea of Back to the Future because of the Pinheads musical. The idea that in the movie he's in a band called Marty McFly and the Pinheads, right? They're called the Pinheads, and they mention this in the movie. It's not just in the musical, but the idea of the Pinheads, like David brought up, that it's from Hellraiser is about a Pandora's box that opens you up to this satanic realm. Have you seen Hellraiser, where there's the box and there's the you know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yes. I mean, you're talking.
No, I was Kurt. I was wondering if Kurt had. I'm always trying to get us back to a human anchor point. You know what I mean? I was wondering. Have you seen Hellraiser? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I live to get the reaction of people. Like, you haven't seen that movie? What's wrong with you? Yeah,
no, I never get that, man, because it's always like, oh, we're recommending a movie to you. You should check this out more than.
And also because movies to us are actually like books of symbolism that you use to like navigate your reality with. So understanding the Cenobites as existentialists who lust for feeling so much that they hurt themselves gives me a really good understanding of woke ideology.
Yeah, I connect this in my sync book chapter to what you were talking about earlier with Mulholland Drive with the box. You know what I'm talking about? So like the idea that Pinhead relates to like the pineal gland. If there's a great Rob Agger take on Hellraiser where he shows you like how in the first Hellraiser film when the Cenobites first show up, the woman's in the hospital. And she's looking at her television, and the way that the shot goes back and forth between the puzzle box and the television indicates that like this is like a meta thing. Like the idea is like you're watching a movie on a box, through a box, like an illuminated box, and it's like this is the gateway to hell is the television.
And
like,
a lot of people might say, like, even in an atheistic reality, you might say, okay, well, if I go through a Masonic ritual, if I go through a theatric ritual, I might put on my dad's costume, what he wore, that was worn by his ancestors who won a war, remind me of what this is, and then I'll maybe something will happen because I'm going through the motions, right? And if you do enough of that, you build up enough things, you're not just going through the motions, you're actually getting through an education, because you're learning how to read and write like those people, and to even emulate the Torah. Let's say if you're doing your bar mitzvah, if you're going to do that, in order to go through those motions, you actually have to walk a mile in those shoes. So I think that's what these movies are doing. They're creating a perfect way to hold a sigil, all these magical rituals that you're going to go through the motions of, and have these emotional motions, go through the emotions of. But maybe even better than a movie is a video game, right? Because you're walking through that world, right? And you could probably interact with spirits that way. And we think about AI being made of spirit, then why not Puka in games?
Well, and with the television being the portal to hell, I mean, I got to bring
Heck
up,
yeah.
what is it, Stay Tuned?
But
Oh,
before we do, I want to say that remember the groaning hell and the idea of Hellenism, and that to the non-Christian, hell doesn't mean the same thing. It didn't used to mean what it does today. You could say Hellenism meant to be close to the sun, right? So at least also consider that from the satanic perspective, that they're not necessarily talking about the same hell. Not that you have to believe it, just understand what they, what are their symbols supposed to mean. But yeah, stay tuned.
Like Will was bringing up earlier, James Hillman, and he has this book, The Dream in the Underworld, which regards like Hades and these different representations, these communications around hell as relating to the subconscious and like the dream world. I get that from David Lynch films a lot, like certain ones in particular, where it's like he seems to be communicating this idea that one could call it like purgatory or something, but there's like not, things aren't actually like quite right, because they're like it's like, I think even that idea that people have of the simulation is kind of similar to like, that's like the Matrix is kind of a hell, is it not? Like it's an electronic womb that's like playing the role of an actual like organism's womb, but it's just like this other like manufactured version of that. So things are gonna get skewy, and there'll be signs. Like I see like Freud's The Uncanny is speaking to that, like the idea that if you see something that's like something that's inanimate and it has an animated quality, it could indicate that you're like in some fucking Bardo or something, like you're not, like you haven't quite transcended into the reality. Like even like those old Tibetan paintings where you have everything that's going on in the world is like in the mouth of or body of some larger like entity, like some demonic intel. It's like the
have you guys ever read the chapter in the Bhagavad Gita that talks about I am death, the destroyer of worlds?
Of course, yeah.
But that's
Alan
what happens.
It's point out that that's
11. It's chapter 11.
He's really not trying to be this. He's really just kind of trying to like freak him out a little bit. He's like, "Hey, do what I tell you," is all he's kind of saying by that. He's not like,
no, but it's a giant mouth. There's a giant devouring mouth at the end of that. Yeah,
because it's freaky. He
makes
just
everything
like
burn.
he's
it's
like
hell.
he's like, come on. Well, no, it's not.
He's doing the
Beetlejuice
thing.
No,
you're talking about a different thing than hell. You're talking about the Tartarus from the perspective of a Christian.
I got this locked down. This is
okay. Well, that part that you're talking about in the Bhagavad Gita is the part where Shiva is expressing himself as with Vishnu within Shiva. So it's like the aspect of Vishnu and Shiva, which is the preserver in the midst of the destruction.
And the reason why he's saying it is because the guy's like, dude, I really don't want to kill these people. Do I really have to kill these people? And he's like, yeah, you do, because
I've already killed them. They're already dead. You have
but also because reincarnation's a thing, and you have to stop freaking out about it, because that's part of the cycle.
Okay,
right. Well, that's the thing.
In that particular chapter, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, because in that passage that Oppenheimer was referencing with the first bomb, like you can see that it's actually the translation is time. It's not death. So like I'm sure he said death, but if you're going to be technical, it was I've become time.
Well, there's multiple translations here. I'll show you something. Earlier this week, I discovered that. Okay. Oh my God, I'm going to start talking about David Koresh again. So David Koresh said that he had a commander, right? And I was looking for the name, and I could never find the name of the commander. He gave it a proper noun, but I couldn't find it because.
Kurt, are you a fan of David Koresh? Do you like his music? You know what I'm talking about?
You with the questions.
I've listened. Let me finish, dude. He has a commander. His name was always phonically spelled by the transcribers. So the other day, I got it. Koresh, he says, means death, or the sound a dead body makes when they die. because he says Yahweh is the inhalation and exhalation. Way is like the breath of God, right? Where Koresh is the sound that one makes when they die. All right. And he said that I found the word. The reason it was hard to find is because it's not a noun, it's a verb. It's haya. So it's the Hebrew word H-A-Y-A, I think.
I'd have to see it in Hebrew. Yeah.
Just trust me on this one, because this is nuts. Where I'm going with this is going to freak you guys out. Okay.
You don't know the Hebrew letters? That would be helpful.
Up the Hebrew word. No, I don't have the letters. I just have the words. It's H-A-Y-A. Like my phone is what I'm using my phone.
Like high, like life.
Look, man. No, it's a verb. You're looking at nouns. Don't look at nouns.
Oh, like l'chaim, but you mean chaya. So like to live.
H-A-Y-A.
Okay.
To live.
Right?
Oh, damn.
Is that what you're getting at?
You guys are killing me.
No, dude, we're trying to get the freaking word you're talking about, dog. What's the problem?
H-A-Y-A. What is it's the same verb that's used. It's my phone. It's all on my phone right now. Here, you know what? I know where it's at. It's on Facebook. So I'll go over here.
Barbarian.
I'll go, because this has to do with it. This is crazy shit right here. And I've been studying this stuff. And I don't think that this is anything that I shouldn't be talking about. So let's see here.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking about David Koresh and the Waco
Why I
siege.
discovered you can't talk. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't. I couldn't get anybody to teach me.
Look at these lovely photos of the Waco siege.
I couldn't get anybody to teach me of the seals because there's a rule that only the lamb could teach the seals. Okay. So if you know the seals,
this actually syncs. This actually syncs up with the
okay. So here, Hava, H-A-V-A-H, because God said unto Moses, I am Haya, H-A-Y-A-H, am, H-A-V-A-H. What the H-A-V-A-H is a present. It's a becoming. It is to happen. It's a verb of doing something. So it says, I am that that sent me, is how some people say that. Like I am.
This is the Yamaha TRH2, man. This is a frequency.
I am what I will be in the future.
If Marty McFly or David Koresh had this amplifier, it would change everything. They could make that sound.
Are you sure that you're not saying Ehie? Which is I am that I am.
Here, let me download this real quick, and then I'll send it to you. This is just a screenshot. I'll download it
it's right here. It's a dang good amp right here. This you get with your iPad or with your Android app, man, and you can emulate the sounds of other amps. It's really cool. This is the amp for everybody. Get yourself the Yamaha THR2. Yamaha, send me money. I wish they would. That would be cool. Send me amps.
I endorse Black Star. I love Black Star. They do some sick hybrid amps. But
really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you look at
Did we lose him?
I don't know.
Yeah, the HG40s is just like, honestly, I played on it, and they had like a bunch of guys from Marshall that tried to carry over the Marshall sound to the Black Star and do it like budget efficiently. And
I love the name.
Yeah, you get some really good harmonics. Like a lot of people like talk about Orange, like Orange amps. Like I played on them. Like to me, they sound a little bit too cracky. But like the overdrive, like on a Black Star, would never tell it's like a hybrid amp. Like they sound.
But an Orange amp has been around like since the 70s or even 60s, right?
Yeah, but this is a wave. And I think this is a wave shaping. This is a wave shaping amp that uses it basically is a AI synthesizer that takes your guitar and makes it sound like other amps, and you can train it on other amps. It's crazy. So you get the sounds you want out of this amp. It blows my mind. It makes me very happy. But you know what makes me even happier, even more happy?
No.
Newsman.
Mr. Sam.
It's your favorite news media puppet, Sam Newsman.
All right, that makes me feel good. How you doing, Sam?
Listen, I'm doing great. I saw you guys were talking about Suburban Commando. I went into the old the vault, the VHS vault, and I pulled this little fella out. And I don't have the fancy poster.
Oh my word, he's got the tape, bro. He's got the tape.
The tape.
Don't Will, pull back up your Hava. I'm gonna go back to the Hebrew mysticism. Calm down.
No, I want to talk to Sam. I want to see Sam.
Yeah, but we can still talk about Hebrew with Sam. He's cool. He's a puppet.
I'm cool. I got to go get this VHS tape. Hold on. Go ahead and get me off of the screen. Hold on.
All right. Well, I'll see you in a second. Well, he's
Oh,
about that.
Can I respond to that image real quick? I can tell
Yeah.
you.
Please,
Hold on.
please. Yeah, you're in charge. So.
You got the image? Can I see it?
So
Which one was the image?
I'm working on it, man.
Oh yeah. Will has to go and pull the image away. Gets all shy about his Hebrew lesson. I mean, thanks a lot, Will.
Well,
no, it's all right. I'm going to show us Hebrew Commando. I'm going to show us Hebrew Commando. That's our new name for Suburban Commando. Is Hebrew Commando. I think this movie, if we watched it in Hebrew dubbed, would probably be better. I don't know if you've done that before.
Can we get a Gaelic dub?
I mean, it exists.
yeah, totally.
You know, like with the state money, like with Ireland, they actually like finance stuff like that. So you could have that done. I've seen some Gaelic dubs of movies before. I'm trying to remember what I saw. I think I saw Basic Instinct dubbed in Gaelic. I also saw Spider-Man 2. I'm trying to think. I think I've seen You've Got Mail in Gaelic. I've seen like several. I've seen several movies in Gaelic. It's a thing. It's a thing.
I watched a lot of Disney movies with Swedish overdubs, and I've never seen them with English. Frozen is one of those because my cousin's daughter was always watching these overdubs. But they have singing, and the singing that they do is incredible.
Oh yeah,
you're like, dude, like that's where it's at. Like some of those musicals, like I so prefer it that way. Just, like,
Danish. There's one guy who does all the Danish ones. It's incredible. But the thing I'll do, I'll watch a movie in English, then I'll watch it in the language I want to learn. And then I'll watch it with subtitles, and then I'll try to read it along so that I learn how to read in that language. Like French, particularly, is the one I'll do that with, because if you watch them, like Good Burger is my favorite. If you watch Good Burger in French with subtitles, you're ready to go on vacation in Paris.
Right. So, Will, do you not have that image? We were just looking at it.
I have a bunch of images here.
Okay, we'll go back to that one.
Why don't you stretch out your weirdly weird? What's with your like anorexic screen? Can you pull that? Can you make that a little thicker, girl? Like, what's up with this?
That's just the screenshot. This is what you're talking. This is This is the whole thing of where it comes from, right here, where he says your last
so itty bitty to me.
What you want. So yes, it does. So basically, he called himself dead. Yeah, because he considered himself to be the carcass in Matthew. When Jesus says, wherever the carcass is, there you'll see the eagles are. And he says the eagles are symbolism for the U.S. military. So,
okay. So
he
go back
says,
to that. Go back to
says, wait, hold on. Just let me get to this.
Oh, sorry.
Unless you're blown by a pieces, everybody does it. And there's a meaning to that. And Psalms 19 called the Alpha and Omega. Life and death is the whole title of God. You get what I'm saying? He says, life and death is the whole title of God. Havich Koresh is the name of my father. My name is David Koresh. Do you get what he's saying? He's like, I know, it sounds funny. The keynote is there's a death that's beloved as the death of all the prophets, is the death of all those who've lived this life. The righteous perish. Isaiah 57 says, okay, so he's saying like the righteous die. This is the screenshot that I was showing you because that was the closest that I could get to the word because everything else was spelled horribly. So I tried to find this name like associated, and it's this. It comes from the same name that is told to Moses. When Moses has a theophany with God, he asks, who are you? And he says, I am that who sent me, or
he's at the burning bush, and he asks the burning bush when he goes to Pharaoh and he says to release the slaves, he says, who should I say has sent me? And the burning bush says, tell him I am that I am has sent you, which is Ehie. And so Ehie is a very similar set of letters to tetragrammaton, I am that I am. And so
it is the name of God. Now
tetragrammaton and Ehie are meant to fold together like two hands in prayer. Like they intersect, and there's actually a geometrical formula that you get when you combine tetragrammaton with Ehie. And
now look what happens if you consider it. What he's saying is because another way of how did you pronounce it again?
Ehie.
Ekie. Okay, so Ekie means to become. So basically, he's saying Koresh, which nobody really knows what the word Koresh means. He's saying it is a dead man's last breath. It means death. So he's saying, I am become death. Okay, he's saying, I am become death is the name of the God who sent him. And that's almost exactly what he says. So what David Koresh is saying, and you can see, like, if you take that as a proper noun and not as a verb, in Daniel, it changes the whole meaning of the word. Because what they do is if they see that word, they say be or shall be or become or something like that. But Daniel's using it as the word, the name of God forever and ever, where wisdom might come from. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so if you read where I become death comes from, it is a theophany also. So it all three occasions where that word's being used, I have become death, is in the direct presence of God.
That's in the Bhagavad Gita. Are you saying it appears in the Bible?
God is a verb. God is becoming. God is happening. He's
right,
becoming.
but the difficulty is like there's multiple things. One of them is like you're talking about breath, and if you're talking about the Bhagavad Gita, that's the thing with Om is described as the 3 strokes of Om make up a breath cycle. So the upper stroke of Om, the 3 or whatever, it's like that is Brahm, which is the creator, and then the bottom stroke is Vishnu, the preserver, and then the tail stroke is Shiva, the destroyer, which is in its expression is a breath. The way you could breathe in, retain your breath, which is Vishnu, and then exhale, and the exhale is Vishnu. So they say all cycles that exist in nature have this expression to them. There's like it communicates a breath, right? But so in the Gita, when you have that section that Oppenheimer referenced, you have the preservation, what is preserved in the midst of the destruction, which is applicable to like nuclear warfare or whatever. It's like, what is it that's going to endure beyond this,
Well, it's the same prophecy. Like I read today that basically, because what happened with me is I went to the survivors trying to get the seals because I didn't understand. They won't teach you the seals. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go to the FBI files because he said it to them. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But I had to read. I'm having to read through. I read through 80 through 140. And that means each tape is about 50 pages because it's like the length of a tape. But he says that Russia's going to bomb America, basically. Because there's this whole idea that if you're doing what God wants, then God will protect you in battle. If you don't do, you're going to die. You get what I mean? And basically he's basing that off of the history of Israel. Sometimes Israel loses wars. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they get sacked. And it all has to do with prophecy. Like prophecy, so there's actually like 3 different sections of the Bible. There's the book of the law, which is Moses. There's the prophets, which are the writers who are talking to God during the Second Temple. And then there's the New Testament. But the very last book of the New Testament says that it throws back to the prophecies, and it says the revelation of Christ according to the prophets. Because there's some things that Jesus didn't do in the prophets, like Judgment Day. We're not to Judgment Day yet.
Okay.
Thank you, more man.
You got it. You have the original VHS of Suburban Commando.
Freaking hot. I love the part where they jump out of that ship. I need one of those like jet skis that shoot out of your boat. I mean, it's such a good movie. Everything about it. It's like, I love that movie.
I just know that I showed up in the middle of the drinking game. So whatever the hell you guys were talking about, I need to catch up.
I love it that every time you show up, David Koresh. It's always Koresh. Whenever
always David Koresh or Mormon or
he showed up at the convention, right? So he ripped his shirt open like he was, Superman, and like had the MAGA shirt under it, right? Didn't that just happen?
He ripped open his shirt up, and Big Mike is on stage right now. I'm waiting for her to rip open his. Sorry. Oh, wait.
I don't think politics should be so entertaining, especially with children's material. That's just me. But when it's, I need advice. Well, I guess I don't need advice. I guess I'm interested in what people have to say about something. Well, if I may. I'm asking permission.
What was the controversy around Hulk Hogan? Didn't he get like canceled or something?
Yeah, well, he got caught in the background of a recording saying he didn't like that his daughter was interracially dating or something like that.
All of that stuff. Yeah.
It was like, and like that was also the way that I think it was Gawker magazine got destroyed. E-zine got destroyed by Peter Thiel. It's all tied to Peter. The only reason I care to bring it up, since you say that, is because Peter Thiel was upset that they had tried to out him about all of his personal private life. And so rather than destroy them over his own life, he was like, okay, look, they can't just keep going around doing this. And he used Hulk Hogan as an excuse to destroy their company. And he brought it. He brought an assault of lawyers that just rained down upon them until they couldn't afford to exist any longer, which was beautiful. And I appreciated that, because if you think about Silicon Valley, man, it sucks how we have these rags. Like they're very French court, aren't they? These just sort of gossip rags about what's going on in Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a gossip rag going on up and down the chat right now because old Big Mike is on stage, and the whole chat is talking about it as well.
Well, there's another testament of Christ that stars John Ritter called "Stay Tuned," and it's a really beautiful film. I don't know, maybe Paranoid American, you want to talk a bit about it? Like, what did it make you feel as a child when they installed that satellite box?
I mean, I always thought, because I was a slow child, but I thought that there was another world inside of television. So even though this is supposed to be presented as hell, it's presented by the dad from Beetlejuice, ends up being the devil. Like, everything about it, I still wanted it. I still wanted the hell box in my house because of this movie.
Hey, can we talk about the fact that John Ritter played L. Frank Baum in a made-for-TV movie about the making of the Wizard of Oz in the mind of him? Like, he's like the kids are all circled around him, and they're asking him what the place is called, because he hasn't said what the place is called.
The dreamer of Oz is what it is.
Yeah, he looks across the room and he sees the filing cabinet, and it's like this letter to this letter, it's like, A to whatever, and then it's like O to Z.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if John was
Hebrew.
John Ritter either died or was born on September 11th.
Wait. So I interrupt David, but you're saying that in the Dreamers of Oz, they bring up that Oz is Hebrew? They say it in the doc?
No, I'm saying that's what the frick it is for sure. But the thing is that it's Liber Oz, it's the same thing, but it's strength in Hebrew. But in the movie, that's how he explains to the kids, like that's how he thinks to, what is it called? He comes up with it. It's just a super cheesy, ridiculous movie, but it's really funny and entertaining.
Right. Well, no, but also the idea that John Ritter might have been a Theosophic member, I wouldn't be surprised. The idea that he plays the fool is the perfect card to put on the front table if you're actually the alchemist, the magician.
Right,
rather.
because those kids are us. Those kids are the audience. They're telling us the story as though we're a bunch of kids circled around him, and he's like,
died so young. It makes me wonder, like, if you die that young, you have to think that September 11th. He died September 11th, 2003. September 11th, 2003. I don't know. It's just like John Ritter. He was taken from us too young. Let's put it that way.
Because the first movie you showed where he's on TV, there's that's one of the original Jake Kotza things. Is like he's jumping around the ring with a KK on his chest and stuff.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Americathon.
Have you seen card like you were saying?
Have you seen Americathon? Does anybody know what Americathon is? Have you seen that one?
No, I don't know what that is.
Americathon, starring John Ritter, directed by Neil Israel, 1979, narrated by George Carlin. It's a movie you might want to see. It's all about.
See, some of this stuff just looks intentional, like you were saying about Back to the Future. Like this whole time span of movies is out of control.
Oh my God! Well, so Americathon. It is about in the future, in the year 1998, in a dystopic kind of. This is we talked earlier about Carter and the October Surprise. This is a non-October Surprise timeline. So in this timeline, what ends up happening is that the Americathon timeline is that Carter continues to win. He has a second term. It destroys our connections to oil. We end up having a huge oil crisis, a larger oil crisis than ever mitigated by the CIA and by the Bush family, Bush cartels. And eventually people are living outside in the streets. They're living in cars out, like, that are camped out, and then they bicycle from their cars to work. And the president has moved to Santa Monica, where the White House has been sold off because they can't afford it anymore. And the United States is in debt to the Native Americans who own the oil reservations. So the United States government out of Santa Monica has an Americathon, a telethon, where you can call to donate money to save the United States, or else it'll just become completely, we're going to go belly up. And it's a John Ritter classic. I don't know what else to tell you. You have to see Americathon.
You notice in the 1976 remake of King Kong that they have the whole oil rig is when King Kong breaks free and then climbs up the World Trade Center. It's all about oil because they want the oil from the island. So like that's like the deal. So they've captured the ape and then they're going to go get the oil, and they have a giant like oil pump, a gas pump, and they like unveil it. And is maybe the pump is over King Kong. I don't know. The symbolism is out of control. And then he dies after climbing one of the two towers.
Right. Is the Mother Earth Lizzo? And are we trying to liposuction her? Is fracking going to destroy the art itself? Like, I know they're trying to make her exercise now, and like, shouldn't we just let her be herself?
She liked the South Park, by the way. That whole bit
Sam,
of like the young, yeah.
Have you ever seen that Muppet movie where Gonzo finds out that he's an alien?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This means something.
Hulk Hogan plays a man in black.
Oh, you're
That's
right.
right.
I forgot about
Well,
that.
going back to this little film, I don't know if anybody mentioned it, but The Undertaker, fresh coming into the WWF at the time, is actually one of the bad guys who is chasing old Hulk Hogan and his suburban commandoism adventures.
Dude, who were the two towers?
The Undertaker.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Who were the two towers?
Towers
in WrestleMania in WWF.
It was the Big Boss Man and Akeem the Dream, and they were managed by a manager by the name of Slick.
Oh wow! You know that
Hulk Hogan was part of that team with where they were the Twin Towers or whatever against.
Is that Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan went up against the two towers? Who
they were the
Sam
Mega
the Newsman
Hulk Hogan,
the Mega Towers.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man were called the Mega Powers.
But there was these two guys called the Twin Towers. That was like the Sheik from Iran.
Oh right, Twin Towers, Sheik, wrestling.
Yeah, but there's the multiple times in which Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage went off about how they were going to take down the two towers in reference to them.
Akeem and the Boss Man were the Twin Towers, right?
So Akeem, he was Akeem the Dream at that point. Originally, he was the one-man gang, which is a biker gimmick. But then he turned into this African dream kind of, hey, I'm Akeem the Dream.
It was the $1 Million Man, huh? Or the Big Boss.
You guys know what I'm talking about when they're just going off and they're describing the way they're going to take the two towers down, and he's like, the two towers are going to come crumbling down right tonight on prime time, and it just goes,
we're going to take it.
Hey, listen, talk about some evergreen audio right there. Oh man, use that for
He became NWO and shit too, like we were saying. Like it's just weird. The Hulk Hogan thing is weird, but it's cool because that Gonzo movie that I was telling you about with the Men in Black is that Piven dude or the Priven guy that we were talking about last week.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a Man in Black again. Like he's the leader of Hellboy too, and the paranormal defense guy, little Man in Black, like secret society people. He plays the same role in that Muppet movie. And everybody seeing like Gonzo sees signs in a cereal, like his like there's beams coming from him from outer space, and he puts on a tinfoil hat because he's like starting to sync up with like his environment. It's really weird. It's wild.
Sounds like me every morning when I wake up.
And Miss Piggy was Yoda, and who Fonzie? Was Frank Oz Fonzie also? I can't remember. And he was Agra in the Dark Crystal. I've been meaning to make, maybe somebody who's really into editing can help me out if they know how to simplify this. But you guys ever seen like Vader sessions where they take James Earl Jones in different movies and put him over scenes from the original Star Wars, and it's hilarious. It's called Vader sessions. I don't know. But I was like, I want to do that with like maybe Agra and Yoda, where it's just scenes from The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but just put in like the little like a great conjunction, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And just like, if you got the right clips, like sound bites, like it could really work. Or Miss Piggy works too. Or you could have both. Just any time Frank Oz played somebody else, if you got the right response. But anyway, just putting that out there. That'd be fun.
You know, the other day go ahead. So the other day I saw Jordan Peterson talk about how he hates Elmo. There was a whole rant about this.
Yeah.
About
Yeah,
how
Sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Elmo's not a real Henson puppet.
I don't like that he took away from Grover. I've always kind of felt like Grover got sidelined by Elmo. And
Super Grover got.
Grover. Yes, Grover is the OG.
Grover was quite a fellow, and he made pizza. He was into agriculture. He had astro projection under
through the air.
Yeah, he did a lot of things.
Super
To be fair to Grover.
Yeah, you guys seen Follow That Bird, the Big Bird movie?
Oh, that's a great.
Where there's like the character named Sid, and he's played by an actor named Barrett. Where it's like there's like they have the blue bird, so like they paint him blue, and he's the blue bird of happiness, and he like escapes by jumping on like a yellow Volkswagen Beetle or something. It's like it's one of those movies. I think it's Jim Henson, like before he died, right? Like I think that was one of his. But
the worst is when they would play it on television, because they would split it up into 2 nights. So then all of a sudden they leave you hanging right when Big Bird got lost. And then you had to tune in the next night, and it was like, oh no, it was the only way you could see it.
He gets experimented on by MK Ultra, and they turn him into the Bluebird. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Thomas. You're muted.
So another really, really good one that I don't even know how popular it was, but it was one of my favorites. Was Big Bird Goes to China.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like this like analogy with like a tree, and the tree represents like the country as a whole. Like it was really, really deep for a little kid.
Totally,
dude. Yeah. I can't believe they got. I mean, like, it's interesting to think about how big of a deal that was for Rockefeller and America going into China too. That they were like, look what we can do. Like
did Nixon send Big Bird to China? Was that?
Absolutely. They were like, look, Carol,
let's remember. I can't even. I don't think I can show you. Can you even see frames of it? Okay. The thing with Big Bird Goes to China is, remember, they were going to send Big Bird to the moon, right? Or Big Bird to space, Big Bird Challenger, right? There's a whole thing. Big Bird Challenger was supposed to go in 19. When was it?
Good
when
thing
was the Challenger? Challenger explosion.
He died one on that, didn't he?
1986, right? Yeah. So the fact that like they'd already ingratiated Big Bird all over the world, right? I feel like this is a major. Like we can't let that happen to Big Bird, and it kind of.
We can't let.
Oh no!
I mean, like a school teacher from the Midwest, we can disappear, but Big Bird, like, how easy to replace? And like that's the thing. If it was Grover, they would have, and that's what sucks about Sesame Street.
Well, that would be 10 times worse than Bambi's mom, bro.
Snuffleupagus is in the real world, and they're all in the illusion, right? Is that what's happening? Do I have that right?
Say it again.
Snuffleupagus, he exists in the real world,
he
and
totally
they're in the illusion, right? That's
so
like
there was a whole thing where Snuffleupagus was supposed to be an imaginary friend, but they were worried that because at the time there were a lot of kids getting molested. I guess there are a lot of kids getting molested now as well, but at the time they were thinking that kids would think that because of Snuffleupagus being not every time Big Bird said, "No, there's this big furry giant phallic monster around." They don't believe that that's real.
Phallic. How phallic is he? I mean, come on.
I'm sorry. This big opiate addicted furry old. What do you want me to tell you, dude?
Like
it's New York, okay? It's New York.
Like a hairy elephant.
There's a lot happening. He's clearly on suppressed downers or something like that. Anyway, I mean, or maybe it's PCP because he's an elephant, and there's like a thing about that in New York City.
Wait. Do you know how to get to Sesame Street? Because you say it's New York. Like, do you know how to get there?
Yeah, it's not that hard to do, but you have to be very careful. You have to say "Open Sesame," though. There's a part to it.
I would think,
right? Which I think there's that also, the fact that it connects to 1001 Nights, right? And that this is there's a deep egregore inside of Sesame Street. But
listen, it's just not. You got to make sure that the weather is right.
But
sunny days have to make sure that the melt the clouds away.
But Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny teaches children like Brer Rabbit how to live in an abusive world and how to come out on top as the most abusive psychopath. In the Big Bird scenario, Big Bird is learning that they're going to be abused by a Snuffleupagus and that no one's going to believe them when they tell people. And that was a problem. So Sesame Street said, okay, we're going to now have an episode where we believe you, Big Bird. Let's follow Big Bird. And they all run with Big Bird, and they run with Big Bird. And eventually they find Snuffleupagus. It turns out Snuffleupagus is actually a nice friend and isn't doing all these horrible things. The parents can know them and they can be sure. And that's a big changeover, because before that it was like, you're living in New York. There's people living in trash cans. You walk by them every day. Get used to it. That was no longer the message they were teaching kids.
I do have a link to MK Ultra and Sesame Street. Here, I'll look it up while you're saying.
I think I have like 10. What do you got?
Yeah,
it's
literally PBS. What do you?
I got 4 aces. What do you got? Oh, you got a full house. Sorry, I win.
It's by the guy who created microaggressions, who actually used to tour on like some atomic like submarine. He was like a consultant for the CIA, has papers that link him to, what is his name? Jolly West or whatever, the guy who is like tied to MK Ultra.
Yeah, Dr. Jolly West.
Yeah, this guy Pierce, I'll try to find his name here and find his wiki here soon. He was like a consultant for Sesame Street. He was like the guy who created microaggressions. It's crazy. Chester M. Pierce, Millbrook. Here, and put this into the chat.
Harvard's American psychiatrist, medical school. What about him? African American president of his high school.
I'm pretty sure if you go down there, it will mention Sesame Street. But he was a consultant for Sesame Street.
Consultant for Sesame Street.
Psychology for children's psychology.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And he developed the term microaggressions.
It just said it. He was a senior. Jesus Christ, yeah. He was a senior consultant for the acclaimed educational children's television series.
Coined the term
microaggression. There's a nice little
That's a red flag. Come on, man.
I don't want to call it a
well, there's also where people went with it. I would have to look in. I would have to investigate.
There's probably a practical use for microaggression as well.
Just make sure you have your highlighter out and highlight that one.
Yeah, I feel like that's the kind of word that could get misused. You know, you invent a new term and people learn it, and there's not like a weight behind the definition. People could misuse it.
Hey,
I mean, the Jolly West stuff, I guess, could be misconstrued also. If he wrote like a whole report with that guy, just because that guy is tied so heartedly to MK Ultra doesn't mean he is, but it is suspect.
It's suspect. Yeah. Do you know the last thing that Jim Henson ever did?
What about
the last thing that Jim Henson was working on while he died?
Was it the Greek ones, the myths?
Close. It was Israel. He was doing Israeli Sesame Street.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah.
He had just finished the Ninja Turtles movie in 1990.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was a little upset that he thought it was a little too violent for what he liked.
I thought that they had a little part in it, and the only reason I know that because he's not in the credits is because I had the deck, like the complete deck. I collected them from like the trading cards, you know, and like there was like the special ones that were like behind the scenes stuff. And I remember there's a card that has Jim Henson like hanging out on the scene, but that wasn't even, was that even the Muppet Factory that did they helped or they showed up or they're just like
they built the creature shop in England, in London, right? So
was it the same people did the creature shop that did?
They built the creature shop. So the fact that he did the Muppets in England,
that was New Line.
Yeah, they created that. Does anybody know? This is an easy one for Sam. Does anyone know what day it is today, or rather, I'll make it even easier. Do you guys know what day National Radio Day is?
Is it today?
Oh my gosh!
It is today.
I took it away.
It is National Radio Day. So, a little bit of history. There's no authoritative kind of, I guess you would say, hey, well, this is where it. This is why or when it originates, but people just trace it back to the first radio broadcast back in Detroit.
Oh, yeah?
August 20th, 1920.
Ooh.
August 20th, 1920 in Detroit.
What was the first radio broadcast about? Was it just kind of like This Is Us on the radio?
It was 8MK, now known as WWJ.
Was it
Did
really
you say 8MK?
like Ultra?
8MK.
Really?
Giggity. So the first radio broadcast
It was a fucking MK.
was a freaking
Nice.
MK signal.
8MK,
Oh,
August
no.
Ultra, was it ultra high frequency? Was it UHF? Okay. Oh my God. That makes me happy.
Okay.
But
So
yes,
same
today's
thing.
National Radio Day. So I want to wish everyone a happy National Radio Day from a 2-time award-winning radio broadcaster. Yeah, that's right. In fact, we're going to try to get in touch with Guinness now because I don't know of any other real broadcasting media puppet other than this beautiful puppet voice that you hear right now, which you can hear
No one
every
takes it
single
seriously. like you.
Saturday from 9 to noon on WDC 90.1 FM. And September 12th, we'll find out where we placed in the top 3 for the best morning radio show by the Richmond Times-Dispatch, which we were able to get into the top 3 thanks to all of you. So shout out to Xirtus, everyone on the panel, and everyone in chat, and everyone who watches it on the replays. Thank you so much. And we'll figure out what all that is on the 12th. And you know what? I think it's been quite a while. I think I might have to tighten up the felt, gentlemen. Might have to tighten up the felt a little bit.
You mean a facelift? You're gonna get a Muppet facelift?
Well, I was thinking like puppet
I don't
kegels.
know. It's been a while. It's it's been 9-10 years. 10 years, I think, gentlemen. We might need to freshen up the felt. What do you say? So anyway, that's all that at Sam Newsman all over social media. Anyways, thank you, Xirtus, for allowing me to just come and hang out with everybody. Love you all. And yeah.
There's a tradition that Obama continued, if not started, of placing the high-ranking targets for assassination. I'm not just saying Obama, it's probably just his administration in general continue this, but on baseball like cards where you can look for the drone targets as these are their hit points, these are the defects. They're surrounded in kids, et cetera, like that. And like, if you hit this target, this will happen. Very, very much a card game being played with drones right now on a big VR screen.
Interesting you say that as he's on now my screen right now talking at the DNC.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so be careful about because
right there.
Well, I feel like I want to say I was one of the first people to say I have a drone. I don't know if that's like a cool thing to say that you said that, but like there was I have a drone, and he was a big droner. He was I don't want to sound like Trump. He was a big droner. Very drony. He was droning all the time. He's droning, very terrible. All the droning, awful term.
Need to get droned.
But there's a silver
get droned, bro.
There's a silver lining. There's a silver lining to Obama's drone baseball cards, and that's that you can now buy your own Paranoid American series, Paranoid American baseball cards with conspiracy hit. These are major hits. These are major players that if you were to be a drone. And you were to hit these cards with like a Pog Slammer, if you were to say it that way.
That's what I used to call the kids with the big, thick glasses.
Yeah, the boons.
Say, oh wait, hey, you got.
You can use your cell phone for a slammer if you're playing with trading cards.
The boons from the Illuminati would fall betwixt the tungsten rods from the heavens. So
these are going to be so awesome. I've been working on these things furiously for the last like 5 or 6 days to get a bunch printed. But yeah, I've sent some in our private chat too that are really awesome. I got like an Alex Jones one and David Icke and.
That's where they are. Okay, I can't even show them. The
hardest one that I haven't been able to really figure out is the James Shelby Downard one, just because. He's got such a freaking specific look to him.
Right. Yeah. So at least 6 moms love that we had an Isaac Cappy meme, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much for it.
Are you gonna go? You need to I want to see more occultists in the.
Well, stay tuned because like recently, Paranoid American, he auctioned a storage unit in the Ukraine and found this lost cassette tape in VHS format from the Soviet Union. This children's show. And you'll have to, you know what? I don't know. Your music's AI, right? I should probably.
You can play the music.
I'm concerned.
You have
I'm
permission.
concerned. You might. I never trust you. You could.
Ah!
Boom, 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 boom.
This was actually the music on this one is from a free album called Shadow Work that you can get on SoundCloud.
Well, for the record, can I say that I am looking forward to my copy of NASA comic that I got from nasacomic.com. I don't know if anybody else got it.
You may.
But I did get one. I don't know if you got one. I'm sure they probably still have some action figures left, but nasacomic.com. I'm so excited. So excited.
This is terrifying.
This is terrifying. When are you going to make this a comic?
I'm just a big fan of this stuff. Could watch it all day. Pretty soon we will.
I
would
have
watch anymore.
You have
I'm
an option.
guilty of enjoying it myself. But you know what? They're just not going to get my felt the way how it just naturally falls. That's why I need to get I need to get a little freshen up here because AI is going to try to do their thing and it'll be like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Can't copy me, AI. Listen, I'm playing chess. And you're playing checkers.
I get your plan. David's got some amazing syncs. Look at this alligator. David doesn't just do syncs, he also posts. So make sure you follow him on Twitter for all sorts of reasons. There's a lot going on David. Look how profound this man's life is. It's beautiful. But if you click on highlights, you can get his sync films. There's a lot of great sync films. I keep trying to push the Rosemary's Baby and White Album, mainly because we have a really good sync review with Will on that, explaining what the whole history behind that sync is, which is a good walkthrough. Like if you're interested in watching synchro mystic works, or if you just want to see what a movie's deeply about, because there's some like perverted old filmmaker who made this film and he survived like the Holocaust and he has some deep symbolism because of some rabbi who taught him that. Like it's worth it to know why people make movies the way they do, I say.
Hey, Dave, listen, Dave, real quick. Was there one movie that synced with something that one popular movie that synced with a very popular album that you didn't think would sync, and then when you saw it, you were just like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that's several. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll put things together just based on like dates or something. Like I'm like, if something was released the same day and year, say popular movie, like I don't know, like I put like Star 80, which is a Bob Fosse movie, with what is it, Rebel Yell, Billy Idol, because it came out the same day and year, and I never would have thought to do that, but it worked. They're so they relate to each other in so many direct ways. It's kind of crazy.
I feel like Automatic for the people with Toy Story was kind of a surprise. Was that really? You're just like, oh no, that's obvious. Did you like immediately know that had to be the one? Like
that was an aha one before I put them together, and then it just did what I wanted it to do. And the song "Man on the Moon," because the length of the film meets the length of the album, only plays once, and it happens to be the scene where the astronaut is at Tim Allen, Buzz Lightyear is at the arcade, and he goes into the giant fake rocket ship. So like, and then there's all the alien toys inside or whatever, but it's like, he's like, oh, a rocket. Oh, that's my place. And so Man on the Moon plays there, which is like, if you believe this, so it's like, and then there's all the Kubrick stuff in Toy Story, because the whole thing seems to be inspired by Freud's The Uncanny, which was Kubrick's stated rationalization for his whole take on horror, like his approach to horror came from that, which is a lot to do with inanimate objects coming to life, which is the same thing you see with AI. It's even the same thing you see with 2001: A Space Odyssey with HAL, where the artificial intelligence takes on human characteristics. So yeah, and then there's all these
shining carpet, and let's not forget that what's the name of the freaking kid who's playing around doing a show inside of his own room to his wall? Andy Kaufman.
Right.
That's what this
it's Andy Kaufman,
and then freaking Andy Kaufman,
and Tony Clifton, because Tony's the little boy lives in the back of Danny's throat, and Danny is another phonetic play on Andy. So you have Danny and Andy, and so yeah, and so Andy, have you heard about this one? Yeah, if you believe they put him on the moon, yeah, it's totally crazy. But yeah.
I feel bad for Kirk because he might get locked up just for knowing us, but it was a great show. I hope you guys all watch MK Ultrasound for the reviews. For the articles.
Have you had a Hulk Hogan movie sync yet?
No.
I just want to throw it out there. There's an album called Elias Hulk Unchained from 1970 I've got no idea if it matches up with anything, but it is a
I
phenomenal
wanted
album.
to, but I wanted to.
Oh,
I got a really like, I got a kind of, you know, how, like a witch, there's like 3 witches and one gives you like a happy like future and one gives you a scary future. Here's the scary future. There's an album released October 7th, 2003 by Randy Savage called Be a Man. And I feel like this album has to sync with something. I don't know. This is an incredible album.
I just know that it's like the cream, and the cream always rises to the top.
There's a song about missing his friend. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.